have a clinic, no? Right, a TH clinic.
Yeah. We have an office in Jupiter that we all just kind of go to. We don't see patients. We do telemed, so it's nice. Everything's over the comfort of your own home, and I don't have to see one in person. But we have an office that I go to, which is about an hour away from my house. So I travel there Monday through Thursday. But gotta try. I could do my work job from work. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's what day it's been. I could do my work from home, but sometimes it's good to see people and it's easier to get things done. And my personal videographer works for the clinic too. So we could just shoot a lot more content faster at the office because I see him every day.
Yeah.
So
you're not as productive when you work from a place of relaxation, right? Because your home is where you relax. So when you try to get work done, some people have I guess you can have an office space and stuff, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
When you have to get up and get dressed and leave the house, your body and mind wakes up a lot more.
So I do agree with you. When I'm home, I don't have to pack my meals.
Okay, that's good.
I don't have to pack my pills, my pre-workout. I don't have to pack anything. So I find myself coming to meal 2 or 3, and I'm like, I didn't even take my pills today. You're like, I don't. And then I got to get all my stuff right. It's just a weird, relaxation. And I like to be habit. Wake up in the morning, go do cardio, go on a walk. Just when I get stuck in that routine, it helps my day. It helps my brain.
That makes sense.
I agree. That's why when sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to work from home, but I don't know. I guess the question: you work from home, right?
Yeah.
How do you go out when you're dealing with clients and stuff, with online clients? Do you ever go to I'm just going to use Starbucks as a location, but you ever go out and do work, or do you stay home all the time?
I do go out, but it's usually, believe it or not, it's usually the gym. But
really?
Yeah. But some of the gyms I go to, there's an area. There's an area you kind of sit down. If you go to Venice, there's a huge lounge area that you could sit down. Sometimes even in my car, I know it sounds weird, but sometimes even before the gym, I might take an hour in my car and sit there and work on my phone. But me in the off-season setting is different from prep off-season. In the off-season setting, if I stay home and try to work, you know how it is when you're full like that, you just want to sleep. I don't. It's I'm working and I'm dozing off and I can't lock in. But in prep, I prefer to work from home because, like you said, I don't have to pack my meals. I'll take all my vitamins. I won't forget to take supplements. And in prep, I'm on, when you're hungry and on a bunch of stims, you ain't gonna doze off. You're gonna be focused. So I'm really focused in prep, and I get work done. Are you driving no hands? You got what kind of car you got? Tesla?
Oh, the hell no, I got no Tesla. Fuck that. I got a fucking truck, man. I got a Chevy. No, I was just sitting. I'm trying to merge on this ramp. I was just sitting in this traffic. No, man. If I had a Tesla, I'd be like, yeah.
I'm there's no hands driving over here.
Shit, no, but, I love that. No, but yeah, you're right, man. It's when you're in prep too, you get more. I feel like you get more productive to a certain point. Because for myself, because myself, when you get closer to a show, I'm I've always been like that. I'm dude, I fuck it. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, well, it's what do you call it? What do you call that chart that does that? I forgot. I'm sorry. When the chart does this,
like a graph.
Yeah, but I forget the word when they go. Anyways, but it's you off season. Your production is down here. Then 20 weeks out, 16 weeks out, 12 weeks out, 10 weeks, 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out. Boom, you're gone. You're gone. But I'll say from depending when I start prep, but let's say anywhere from 16 to 20 weeks out, down to 8 weeks out, it changes some years. It depends how your body is working, but
Yeah.
for those 8 to 10 weeks at the start of prep, I'm so fucking productive, man. It's the best feeling ever. Get so much done, but by the end, shit, I can't even walk and chew at that point. I'm done.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like the feeling because how I look at it is performance. And I'm talking about just work. Like what I do is a performance based. I have to give someone my ultimate attention to help them with their hormones, to help them what's going on. Sometimes it's just mental stuff.
yeah,
And when you're not able to work at a high level, performance slacks, and then unfortunately money is lost.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I've really came to not like that. And
So, Robin.
What's up, bro?
it's just one of those things that I'm like,
Robin DT Robin. I don't know if you
yeah,
guys
what's up,
familiar.
Robin? Oh, I know who he is. He doesn't know who I am.
No, I do, bro, because I listen to you guys even when I'm not on. What's up, man?
Who
Yeah.
the fuck is this fucking guy?
How are you, bro?
We just talking about being productive and how hard it is to be productive off season sometimes, especially when you work from home. Do you work from home, Robin?
For the most part, now I do, man. I was doing a lot of one-on-one PT at the gym, but to be honest, I was just not really feeling it as much as just how much I can really push online coaching. And I know that sounds lazy, man, but I think it is a little bit lazy. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, they get the benefit from working one-on-one, but you know you can make more money faster doing it online.
100%.
So you almost justify it with yourself, right? And then we just sit around more. We don't get as many steps. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree, bro. Like, being productive is important. It's important because you need to be able to use your time efficiently. Otherwise, you're going to be lost in the sauce. Days are going to go by, and I do feel like that sometimes, for sure. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's like, bro, years go by. You're like, what have I even done?
Bro,
Yeah.
low key. Sometimes, I hope none of my personal clients watch this, but sometimes I'm at the gym training a client, and I'm like, man, I think I need to start selling fucking e-scooters or some shit because I'm not I'm not feeling this anymore, bro. Like you standing there putting people through workouts, and I like seeing the results, but I could do that with online clients too, you know.
It's special in person, though, don't you think? Like, DT, do you do a lot of in-person stuff?
No, so I run an HRT clinic.
Okay, cool.
So I've been there. I've done in-person training, and I fucking hate it. I cannot stand sitting there for an hour and watching. I don't have any clients, so I could this fucking person do this shit over and over, knowing in my head you're gonna go home and fuck off and eat shit. And I'm just like, all this progress. Like, I guess for me, it's just like it's such a waste of time, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I can't stand it, man, and because you waste a lot of time in person, and it's a lot of time that there's a lot of money within an hour that you can make elsewhere,
100%.
with less effort.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story because I know I have one client, and she's been working with the trainer for her whole basically fitness journey. Let's say 5 years now, and she's done some other things, like she was a runner and stuff like that. But the bottom line is she's only been trained by this one person, and that one person has given her so many bad habits. So now, as a coach or as her trainer now, being like, you have to undo all those things that she's learned. And that can be very frustrating, but that's honestly the only way you can do it is if you actually see that person in real life. Because if you go and coach them, you're going to tell them things. It doesn't matter what you tell them, bro. You could tell them, this is going to build your booty, and they're going to go into the gym, they're going to go, well, I'm programmed to do this way, and they're always going to revert back to that. So I think
Sure.
it takes a very special person to be able to change someone in one session. and it also takes a very, I would say, like a coachable client. They have to be ready to go and basically forget what they learned and then try to start from scratch again. Even though that might be really frustrating, it might seem like they're going backwards.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. But I think that everything is going more towards online now, and I would say definitely a lot more clients, they want online because it's more affordable on a consistent basis. Because let's say you charge $300 a month. Well, you could manage $300 a month for a year. That's just easy to budget. Versus, let's say now, especially with prices going up, when I was a trainer, I used to charge 50, $60 Canadian, right? Now I'm charging 150, 160, almost $200 Canadian, right? Which is like a little bit less American. But still, the prices have doubled or tripled. And people are going, well, I can maybe pay for Robin once a month, sometimes here and there. But, you know, it's not really going to be something that we can do on a consistent basis. Unless that person's like, I'm going to go all in, I can afford it. And that's the unicorn. And those people are amazing. Obviously, you want to have those people, but they're rare. And so, I don't know, man. I'm just sad that I feel like the in-person thing is dying a little bit, to be honest, because it's nostalgic for me. Because I've always had trainers my whole career.
Yeah. Shit, it's like going to the movie theater, you know? It's like
Yeah.
But the only time I enjoy it, they don't have to be a competitive. They don't have to be a competitor, but I only enjoy it when they go hard. It almost gets me hyped, like before my workout, you know? It's like, it feels like I'm watching porn before I have sex, you know? It's like it's like if my client's going hard, I'm like, damn, she going hard today. Okay. And a lot of the female clients go hard as far as you train a guy, right? There's a lot of rest in between sets, as there should. I'm not saying it shouldn't, right? Because, you know, he's training heavier, he's probably stronger. He's probably trying to gain weight, right? He's probably not trying to lose weight. So it's like he does a set. You watch his form. It's more of a form thing and a resting thing. So he does a set all out. We rest like 2-3 minutes. We talk a little bit. Okay, you do another set. It's not that exciting. But these girls, bro, I have them doing fucking 15 rep squat superset 225 with this shit lunges, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry for my endurance isn't that good." I'm like, "Your endurance is fucking great. I can't do this shit. What the fuck?"
You're like, I ain't doing this fucking hellhole.
That's what I'm saying. So usually they come to me a little heavier. By the time I get them in shape, they're like a fucking machine, bro. I'm trying to kill them, and I can't because, I feel like girls generally have a high pain tolerance for the burn, and their muscle.
Bottom line, man, guys are pussies, bro.
Bro, I made a video about that, and then the guys would be like, "Yeah, I train hard, bro. I train so hard, bro." And I'm like, "Okay, let's see." I'm like, "Let's see. I want you to really kill me today, bro. I'm like, "Okay, take it easy, bro. Let's see what's going on." And then we do it. It's kind of like I'm not that impressed, right? Whereas the girl would come in and she'll be like, "Yeah, I usually do like 90-pound deadlift." I'm like, "Let me see." I'm like, "That was easy. Let's go up. Let's go up. Let's go up." By the time we done, she's on 225, and I'm like, honestly, shit, that didn't even look that hard. She's like, "Really?" I'm okay. And it's like it's funny because you look at untrained guys and girls, right? The guy is probably training way too heavy with horrible form, and he thinks he's training hard, right? The girls are usually executing perfectly, but they don't realize how strong they are. So they're like holding back. So you get that girl and you push her, best case scenario, right? Because she's gonna allow herself to be pushed usually, if she's about it. Whereas the guy, like you said, you revert back to your old habits. So if you're not constantly watching him and caulking him, he's gonna start doing 1-rep maxes and horrible form and ego lift and all that stupid shit, right? Whereas the girl, once I teach her how to train hard, she already had the form pretty good, right? So it's like she can stick to it longer, So for some reason, in person, I do better with the females, and then online, I seem to do better with the guys, if that makes sense.
Well, guys have bigger egos about that, right? So they like lifting the way they're lifting because that's where they're comfortable.
100%.
And if you're going to train somebody, you're probably going to change their form, and they're going to have to lower the weight. And you're probably going to want to pick up the pace of the workout because they're going to want to talk. Whereas girls don't want to talk. They're just like, what's next? What's next? Guys are like, so I was doing this with my program. You're like, dude, we're not talking about that right now. We're doing a leg day. And the thing is, and this is how I know for sure that guys are pussies, is no matter how hard they say they train, I've never had a girl give up on a leg day.
Never.
Stop, like during the session, be like, okay, I'm done. They're always willing to keep going. All the way until the end. Always. Every time. But with guys, they will give up. If you push them a little bit too hard past their comfort zone, even if they make it through that workout, they're not coming back. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just, it's the ego, man, because if you feel like you've been crushed too hard, you feel like I can't go back and do that again.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's funny, but I do feel like it's just the mentality of training hard. Some people in general can train really hard on their own, and then if you add a trainer to it, they just can go like through the fucking wall. But there's also a lot of people that they can't train hard on their own, and they can't train hard even if you're there making them train hard. Even if you're making them go to failure, they'll just fake it and bitch and moan, and you know how it goes, bro. You know, so you either want it or you don't. Girl or guy, either want it or you don't.
Do you guys feel like you can train as hard as if you were with a actual training partner? Because
I guess,
for me, I would say no for myself, and I'll kind of throw myself under the bus first, and then it's always easier to like talk shit about yourself.
Yeah,
it's harder to go up and weight because if you don't have a spot, you're like, you start to get a little iffy.
That's
are you hitting failure and failure? Fuck, I don't even want to talk about failure because failure is.
It's a whole nother.
In today's age, fuck. I'm going just typical bodybuilding failure, right? Are you going to failure? Well, can you really? Because no one's there to spot you. And then you feed off of people's energy. At least I do. Yeah. So that's my kind of tripod of why I need a training partner, or I like to have a training partner. Even if my training partner is my wife. But if she's there, it doesn't matter because I trust in her. Like I feed off her energy too. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends what you consider training hard, because what I consider hard now is different from before, right? So the way I used to train, what I used to consider hard was more weight motivated and kind of just like so much intensity, but a lot of emotion, right? So coming in there, getting locked in and moving a lot of weight for a lot of reps, for a lot of sets. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to grow, but at some point you need to learn how to train hard, right? So at that point, I used to work out with like four guys because we were going so crazy. By the time one is going, we got to lay down and recover, right? Like we're literally laying down and recover. So at that time, training, I have to have training partners train like that. I couldn't even, and we use so much weight, I couldn't even load up the plates by myself because I would be too tired to. Right, so we loading up the leg press, loading up the hack squat, loading up the squat, and it's like it's so crazy that I need people for fucking emotional support and to help me with the weight. Yep. Whereas now, what I consider hard, it's a different kind of training. It's more like not to the extent of Robin, but it's like I'm focusing so much on execution and feeling it. So I don't need to be emotional. I don't need to be hype, right? You guys probably relate because as you get older, there's no emotion anymore in training. I don't need to like lock in emotion. Let's go. It's just I know what I need to do and I execute. And it's actually in some ways it's actually harder for me in some ways to train like that. If I have a camera filming, you would be like, "Yo, Beatty at young Beatty trains way harder than older Beatty." But I'm training the muscle harder now. My nervous system is getting trained harder 10 years ago, but I'm bigger and I'm growing body parts that I couldn't grow before because I'm not just loading the plate and hoping for the best. I'm actually using the muscle. So I don't need as much volume. I need more recovery, which is telling me that my muscles are fucking dead, but I feel better as far as my nervous system, So now the way I train now, I can train just almost just as hard by myself, or I could say just as hard by myself. But the way I used to train before, there was no way I could train like that by myself. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can relate with everything I just said. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch. Sometimes I'll watch videos from me training like 10 years ago. I'll just laugh.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's just funny, man. Because
It's
you're right. You think you're training hard back then.
You don't get
And
it. You don't.
It's
You don't
just funny to
understand.
see how much it's evolved. And how much you think you know back then, and how much you think you still need to know now. Just I guess it's just the maturing in the sport. Like we talk about this. It's like 32 versus 23. It's like it's totally different, man. Totally different mentality in the gym. Like you're saying with the emotions. Like that's hilarious, man. Like I just remember being that age and like just how much weight that lift would be like in my mind, which is so unnecessary.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's actually trying to unlearn that has been part of being a better long-term bodybuilder, because like you're saying, you don't need to be emotional, or you don't need to be emotionally attached to the outcomes of the lift. You need to be emotionally attached to just basically doing what you need to do and giving 100%. It's like as long as I've given 100% of whatever that is today. Let's say I'm fucking drained and I've only got a 70% full tank of gas. I'm gonna give 100% of that 70%. And as long as I do that, it's like I don't have anything to worry about. You know what I mean? Because emotion, I feel like in the gym can get you hurt. Just like emotion can also cause bad decisions to be made at any time in your life. Same thing in the gym. If you're way too fired up, man, you're gonna go and you're gonna do something that you probably wouldn't have done if you weren't that like amped up, and if you just had taken a second to think about where you are and where you need to be, instead of just, oh, I'm gonna fucking show off right now.
yeah.
Because that does feel good, but it's like, how many other things feel really good, and then you do them and you're like, that was fucking kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the truth. You ever go into a training session and you're like, I feel fucking good today. I tell everyone, if you feel like that, own it back. Because every workout, something hurts. So I'm like, if I can go into every workout and something's hurting, man, we're all right. We're good. We're no problem. We're good. Something has to hurt.
Yeah.
It's almost like you start off all the way here to the right. It's all emotion, all intensity, no connection. Then you start learning, start getting better, start getting older. Then I feel like sometimes you might go a little bit too far left before you find like a middle ground, right? Because I feel like at one point I got so, not that long ago, maybe last year or so, I got so focused on execution and tempo and form that I'm like, I feel like I'm not even training hard anymore. What the fuck is going on? It's still harder than probably most, but in my head I'm like, I feel like I could generate a little more intensity than that. So now I'm like, and now I got so far left that I didn't even know how to loosen my form. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable loosening I'm gonna get hurt, bro. So then now I feel like I kind of found the balance of where I need to be, where I can still push extra reps and not worry about weight too much. Do you guys feel like it's still important for beginners to go through that phase and figure it out themselves? To some extent.
Beginners. Yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, but I was just gonna say to some extent. I'm not saying like the 225-pound curls. The fucking.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think beginners need to start with a very basic starting strength program, like rip toe starting strength, and I'm just biased towards that one because that's the one I started with. But any basic starting strength where you've got a decent amount of frequency, bench, squat, deadlift, plus a couple of accessories. You're covering all the basics, and you're doing that on a consistent basis. Like maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday with like a rotation, almost like a basic powerlifting type of program, but then thinking of like also still building the development features afterwards. But you got to squat, you got to bench, you got to dead. So what are you going to do? Focus on those, because those are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And if you're just focused on curls, I mean, you're way behind in terms of thinking like, how am I going to progress long term? So beginners got to start with starting strength, then you can just take it anywhere you want to go from there. Basically, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because if right now, let's say, what dumbbells you use? If you were doing like a dumbbell press, Robin.
Look for my chest.
Yeah. How much weight would you use right now?
I would do it incline. I would do maybe 130s because after that, I just feel like, first of all, I don't like people handing them to me. I just want to do it on my own. And after that, it just, the more weight that I'm throwing back, the easier it is for it to throw me off the bench. So I'm just 130s, and I'll probably put it at the end of my workout.
100%, man.
Yeah.
So you see, let's say if you were a beginner, Robin was 18 or 19 years old, right? If you try to use the form that maybe we use today, and you started at 30 pounds, right? Like you have to be able to press the 150s, 160s to be able to do 130s for such good form, right? So like in the beginning, there has to be some building of strength, or you have nothing to work with, right? If you're curling 10 pounds with perfect form, it's like you have to get to the 30s and 40s to be able to tone it down, right? So I do think it's important when you start, like you said, some kind of beginner strength program. For me, it was Max OT. You guys familiar with Max OT training?
No. What is that one?
Basically, like Dorian training with lower reps. So it was basically like each body part you would do maybe 4 working sets. Let's say 3 to 6 working sets max, but you would do 4 to 6 reps to failure, right? So
Yes.
like a low rep, really heavy, high intensity style training, low volume, shit like that. And it built a great base. You know, I remember being like 16 and maxing out all the machines at the Planet Fitness. You know, so that.
Well, dude, like I remember seeing you as one of the strongest guys at the time. So clearly it worked. You know, you built that foundation and you were extremely strong for a long time. You know, and obviously as you get older, you're not going to be as strong forever. That's just unrealistic. But you can be strong in other ways, and you can be stronger at specific skills like targeting muscles to build them as opposed to just moving weight, which is what we're all about now. And what's cool is like even though, you know, to be honest, my very first program was the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding 6-day program, and I actually did more than that. I doubled up on it, and then I just started hurting myself a lot. So that was like me trying to figure it out because I was really like obsessive at the beginning. And then I found starting strength, and I'm like, oh wow, I just started seeing my progress fly up. I remember doing, even before I got into a gym, I was squatting 225 in my bedroom, just doing that. Even though I was still really behind on bench, I was only maybe doing like 120 pounds of bench at the time. I wasn't quite at a plate, but still, like, you know, over the course of the years, just sticking with that. By the time I was 18 or 19, I think I did my first maybe 500-pound deadlift, I would say. Still bench was like way behind, and like my squat was pretty good. I think I did 405 around 19 years old, for at least 5 reps, something like that. And like I think my max ever was like 5 plate squats for maybe 8 to 10 reps. Like I just never went beyond that because I'm like, at some point, once I would push beyond, and I actually hired a powerlifter to try to get me stronger. I wanted to deadlift more than 6 plates and squat, you know, more than 5, and I wanted all that. But I wasn't able to get there. I would get injured. Yeah, every time I would get close, I'd get injured. And I wasn't mad about it. I was like, oh, okay, my body's built for building muscle, not built for strength. No problem. And I would just always keep that in mind. And that's why I thought it was funny what you said, DT, about going to the gym now and thinking like, on those days where I feel amazing, I'm like, yeah, don't get cocky because those are the days where you're going to hurt yourself. When you go in there, like, okay, I'm a little tight today. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to stay within my lane. I'm going to hyper focus on this muscle squeezing shit. And, you know, most of the time that just keeps you focused and it keeps you alert and aware, right? Because there's a little bit of fear there. When you got no fear, you're fucked.
Bro,
you know?
My perspective was so fucked that I thought I was weak, bro. I thought I was weak because I grew up going to a powerhouse gym in the Bronx, right? And at this time, keep in mind, these people, we're talking about, over a decade ago, maybe 12, 14 years ago. So these people at the time weren't the people they are now, right? So Larry Wills used to train there, right? He was just like a kid. strong kid, but he was a kid. Kevin Oak, I don't know if you know who that is. Kai
Yeah.
would be this. Kevin Oak, Kai would be there sometimes, and then Kai, when I moved to Brooklyn, Kai was there too. So I'll go to Steel Gym, see Victor Martinez, and we don't consider Victor one of the strongest, like compared to like the Ronnie Coleman's. But think about it, if you're a kid and you see Victor benching 3 1/4 or 4 plates, that's fucking really strong, right? I mean, it's still okay. All bodybuilders are strong. It's just that yes, everybody's not Ronnie Coleman strong or fucking Dallas strong, but everybody's strong. So I would see that.
Simeon Panda. I remember seeing Simeon Panda when I was 20 years old and thinking he was super strong.
Yo, yeah, he was. You know, he was. You know, but yeah, but so in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm so weak. I'm only squatting 5 plates. Oh fuck, this is, you know. So I always thought I just wasn't that strong. And in hindsight, when I look, because training has changed also, so I look back and I'm like, damn, that's actually pretty impressive, man. I'm not, but
I'm telling you this, bro. Like I can never do the same shit that I ever did before. When I look around my gym, and my ego takes over internally in my own head, and I'm like, I'll fucking smoke anyone at this fucking gym in my fucking when I was young. Like you guys are over here squatting 4 or 5. I'm like, okay. You know, even some of the power lifters I look at, I'm like, I'll fucking beat you. You guys ain't even that strong, you know? And that's the fucked up part, is that when you come from a background and you actually are strong, your mindset's always there, like, I'll rip and grip this bitch. But if I do, I'm definitely tearing something, because I'm not made for that any longer.
Yeah,
that's the danger zone if you're bodybuilding. That strength, I think the issue is if you over prioritize strength. The issue is that strength is strength, right? It doesn't always correlate to how hard you're training, right? Like Robin said, Robin worked up to 5 plates. He couldn't get past that. If it wasn't heavy for me, not because I trained harder, not because I was smarter or put in more work, just genetically, it just wasn't that heavy. If I put a bar on my back to squat, it honestly didn't feel heavy to me, right? So if I see Robin in the gym, let's say me and Robin both in our 20s, and I'm squatting 5 plates, and he's squatting 3 plates, and somebody like, oh, Beatty trains harder than Robin. That's not true. Beatty's stronger on the squat than Robin. Doesn't mean he's training harder. If I hit 5 plates for easy 8 reps racket, oh, Robin, your turn, and he lowered it to 3 plates, and he's struggling with it. He had a better workout than me. He went harder than me, right? He did less weight, but he went closer to failure or past failure. So his legs are going to grow faster than mine, which is literally what happened. I'm watching people grow their legs faster than me, and I'm like, fuck, my legs are so much stronger than them. Who gives a fuck? Fucking Steve Weinberg is like, hey, baby, how much you squat? He doesn't give a fuck. So, and even with Janicki, I'm watching Janicki. When I met Janicki, bro, we talking about like maybe 5 years ago. He came up to me like, bro, your legs are huge. Think about that. Janicki legs are bigger than mine right now. He came up to me like, bro, how you get your legs like that? Think about that. And I'm watching him train, and he really trains like that. You know, he trains. I would say generally it looks more intense in person because he doesn't show the whole set. You know,
do you train with Eric sometimes?
I did like a handful of times because he goes to Zoo and Young LA gym. So I have quite a few times, and it's different. But to realize how strong he is, right? He has the stack on the extension, and look at the form. I can't do the stack with that form. So then I'm like, if I try to weigh it out, I'm like, if this guy trained like how I used to train, he would be squatting like 6, 7 plates. It's just that that's not how he trains. But if you average it out, same with he was doing more weight than me. Obviously, it's a different form, but that still says a lot because I'm pretty strong for like a bodybuilder, generally speaking, right? So he's just choosing to train a different way. But you still listen. You don't get that big without being strong, kind of strong, or strong enough, you know. So I think anybody who thinks his training is ineffective, if you actually worked out with him, it would make sense. Yeah, because when I first saw it, I was kind of skeptical too. I was kind of like, he probably got big from benching, and then he switched that.
Okay, what about this? You know those influencers, they go up and they go around and they try to offer people cash if they can like beat them in like a lift.
Yeah.
Let's say they come up to you. What lift are you picking
Like nowadays,
right now? Yeah, he comes in the gym right now. He's like, "Yo, $2,000. You pick your lift. You beat me. You get it.
can it be a machine or do they have to
Whatever
be
you
free
want.
weights?
Anything."
Oh, okay. At this point, I would probably do like a hack squat or like a shoulder or like some kind of shoulder press. My shoulder press is pretty like it's pretty strong. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
at this point I'll probably pick it. At my prime, I would pick for sure squat or deadlift. But right now, probably a hack squat or I don't even shoulder press anymore.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense. It was too strong for the benefits. I had to use a lot of weight to hit failure in the rep ranges, and I don't. Who really needs more front delts? Let's be real. I don't. Right? Nobody like your front
I'll
delts
take
are.
some. Yeah, I'll take some.
What?
What, what about you, DT? What if someone came up? What would you? What lift would you pick?
It's hard to answer it like now, right? Because
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a
I'm
funny
like,
question.
Well, because it runs in my head, and then I'm like, okay, but are we gonna critique form on this lift?
Uh, you gotta have decent.
So that's
form.
right.
Yeah.
Decent form.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna sound really weird. I would probably pick a barbell row or a dumbbell row.
No, that's a good
or
one.
those, yeah, Dumbo was yeah, you could put some weight on that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can do form, but we're talking reps or like a max.
It's probably like, you gotta do some reps. Yeah, you gotta do some reps.
Okay,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
definitely take. I would take those.
Yeah.
6 rep max.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Like you can pick the exercise, right? And then you work up to your max weight, and then they have to match the reps, or you have to match the reps or whatever.
Oh
right?
yeah. I would say that for sure.
Yeah.
Now my knees are fucking. Oh man, dude. I wish I can say something on the legs, but my knees are totally fucked.
Holy shit? What's that squat there, Beatty? Is
that? But you see, Johnny Keith's legs, they're bigger than mine, man. Which is where. But yeah, but this was I had posted a video just to because I'm like I look at this, I'm like that shit makes my fucking my knees hurt just watching the video.
That's crazy.
Bro, that is fucking crazy.
There's no spot.
No, but honestly, like it didn't feel. I don't know what it looks like, but it didn't feel that heavy. It felt just like this the way 4 plates feel. It feels exactly the same. It doesn't feel like whoa, this is dangerous. But when I'm looking at it now from my point of view, I'm like it's extremely dangerous.
I mean, your form looked pretty good, man. Like it was pretty smooth and controlled, and like good depth too. So,
That move.
Well, that one's got a ban, so
it don't
count
matter,
as a ban. It don't count as a ban. I think I posted one without the ban, but yeah, it's
that's crazy right there. 5 plate rows like that is crazy.
But this is how you get injured 101. But some people's bodies aren't that injury prone, especially like if you have an athletic background, if you're flexible, have good range of motion, you don't really get injured that much. So I never got injured, man. I never got injured training.
That's true. I mean, like look at the way that your hips are moving. It's just like you're just getting into that depth, no problem. Your back isn't even like you're not even tilting forward at all.
It felt comfortable, man.
Yeah.
I mean the amount of weight on your shoulders is pretty uncomfortable to say the least.
Yeah.
but
it's all the front delt you need right there.
Yeah. So but in hindsight, what did it do as far as muscle growth, man? Early on, it does a lot, but I would argue that any training style you do in your early 20s on gear is gonna work pretty fucking well.
Yeah,
so
as long as you're pushing it.
Exactly. Luckily, I didn't hurt myself and I don't feel banged up. But the cons outweighed the pros. It just did. It just did.
Yeah.
That could have easily been injuries.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a place for it in the beginning, but then it can still be excessive. Still, even with those things in place. But
yeah, I agree.
But Robin, we haven't talked in a while, man.
Yeah, what's good, bro? What's been new?
Man, same shit, different day, man. The life, living life as an adult. I feel like I'm finally like an adult now.
All grown
I
up,
don't,
yeah, no.
I don't just get to just take a bunch of drugs and do crazy shit, and I feel like I have to make sound decisions. Before you make some money, go buy a nice car or something. Now I'm like, I need to try to get a house or something. Let me open a business or something,
I hear you,
something
man. I hear
responsible.
you. Yep, yep,
But
yep.
what you got going on as far as did you start prep or are you still off season?
Yeah. We just started a prep. We're gonna take a look at doing Portugal, Tampa, Texas, and then we may also finish off with Italy, which would be what I want to do. The Italy. The only reason why Italy's a maybe is because it's 4 weeks after. But I mean, I'm pretty set in doing that as long as I can just keep it going that last 4 weeks. Do Italy, and
Yeah,
so we just started, and we're 15 weeks out right now, basically.
from
So yeah, we,
Portugal.
we were we were gonna do Toronto, but my weight wasn't even budging, and we already started prep technically 5 weeks ago. So it was
Wait, when
just
it?
yeah, it was just my body was like just staying over 300 pounds, and we would drop food and it would stay at 300 pounds. I'm like, okay, so we'll see how it looks, and if it doesn't get leaner, we'll just push it a little farther, and that's what we did.
Wait, are you somebody who has to diet and cardio pretty hard to get in shape, or no?
Not usually, not
Oh,
usually. Yeah, yeah.
so like most of the time, most of your preps, how low does your carbs or calories get, or
Well,
loaded?
I think one reason is in the past few years, it was easier to get in shape, to be honest, because I had that issue with my gut. So probably a
Oh,
lot of what I was eating wasn't even being assimilated, digested properly. It was just going in and out. Whereas now, all the food I eat sticks, and I feel like I'm almost like responding better to everything now because of that. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit leaner. Like I've dropped a little bit of weight and I've tightened up a little bit for sure. I actually really like the way I look, but I'm still like, holy shit, like I'm 300 pounds. That's crazy. So yeah, I'm not gonna try to like push things too crazy, but in the past I've definitely gone up to 2 hours of cardio. I've done 100 mics of T3, to get in shape, and I've done everything, and I've suffered like crazy to do it. Deadlift hit. A lot of my clients they hate me when I give them my hit protocols because I'll give them 200 rep deadlifts and you have to complete it in 20
Oh
minutes.
my,
You take 30 rep,
oh my
30% of
god,
your 1 RM, and
that sounds
bike
awful.
sprints like Wingate style, the way that Ben Pekulski used to just go crazy on the bike, because those things get you in shape if you're just working really hard, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all that stuff I've had to do, but in the past 2 years, like I said, I had that gut issue. I didn't have to do more than 45 minutes cardio. I didn't have to suffer barely using T3. I don't know if it, because the thing is with my body is it starts off slow and then it speeds up a lot near the end. And so I don't know if it's just bigger body now and it's just going to start off slow like it does. And I think it'll probably respond the way it does normally till the end again. But I think just right now, man, we're gonna keep cruising because the look obviously is the most important thing, and I like the way I look a lot right now, so I don't want to fuck that up and be like, oh, we have to push for Toronto, we have to push for anything. I'm just gonna keep cruising as long as we keep looking better and everything is just moving in the right direction. We're getting leaner and tighter. Then at least from what Dorian says or thinks, we'll be getting on stage like 10 pounds heavier, which would be just like that's it. Like that's my fucking
sick.
peak, and I'm super happy with that. So,
Damn, how?
but the same conditioning, obviously, there's no way I'm getting. That's the thing. I would never go on stage with without the conditioning I'm known for. I'm always one of the, if not the most shredded guy on stage. That's why I'm not gonna go on stage and be like, it wasn't as conditioned this time. That would
Yeah,
never
yeah,
happen to me. That's never happened. It never will happen in my whole
yeah,
career.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
but the cortisol got to me. I just
yeah.
I couldn't do it. No, so
Yeah, no, but
couple
yeah, no, dude. Like, if I have to push hard, I will. That's 100%, and I enjoy that part because that's
yeah,
when you're thinking about. I gotta wake up the next day. I've got to do this hit cardio. I've got to train. I've got to do. That's what makes you a fucking good bodybuilder.
yeah,
Doing all that shit and getting in shape and just basically being able to hold all your muscle and get in shape. That's what makes you a good bodybuilder, right? So you have to know
Yeah.
how, yeah, you got to know what it takes to get your body there.
Well, a few questions, right? First of all,
Yeah.
how does Dorian have time to coach? He has like 20 businesses.
He doesn't. He only has like just his few select clients that are not headaches for him, that we know we're all professionals. We know what we need to do. We check in. He gives us the plan. We don't need more than 10 minutes of his time, you know?
Yeah.
But also, I go and I train with Dorian sometimes too. So I get the opportunity to actually see him in person too. And then, you know, if he sees me in person, he thinks we need to make changes, we can always do that then. But also, this is my third season with him, so we have a good system, and we already know what to expect. So it's just, you know, I'm getting the job done, and he's just giving me the plan when it needs to be changed, right? So it works.
He don't he don't need the money from coaching, so he's doing it for the love of the game, you know, because
100%, exactly, yeah, 100%.
Homie's loaded. Hey, Dorian, if you're listening, give me a job, man. I want a job.
Hey,
Well, I know.
throw some little cream of rice, you know what I mean?
Come on, man. Give me a loan or a job or something. I'm good. I'm good for it, man. I'll pay you back. No, yeah. The other question I got, for the years that you did the high T3 and the high cardio, did you feel like you lost a lot of tissue?
So 1 year I was working with a coach. This is when I saw Simeon Panda when I was like 2021. I was working with a coach out in UK, and he had me doing essentially 2 hours of hit. Not crazy hit, not like what I was talking about, but just like intervals, like 1 hour in the morning intervals on the elliptical and 1 hour intervals post workout on the incline treadmill. And it was just a lot, man. I was like, this is a lot of cardio. But he was giving me a lot of food, and I was shredded, and I was pretty happy with that look. I think that time we did very little T3. And then the time that I was trying to push down into heavy weights was when I went up to 100 micrograms, because I was kind of just like, well, I just want to get my weight down at all costs. And it definitely worked, but you know, it's just, was that even really necessary? Like, I ended up even staying in super heavy weights, even taking 100 micrograms of T3. It didn't peel me back enough, because at the time we did implement a lot of refeeds. We were also doing like an insulin protocol with it, so it was pretty intense for sure. And you know, it did work too. So you know, there's a lot of ways to get kind of in that shape, but with with the T3, I feel like for sure less is more if you want to preserve tissue, right? So I wouldn't go up more than maybe 25, maybe 37.5 if I was desperate to push the conditioning, you know.
You got to be careful with that. I've went really high with that because like we said earlier, like the way you learn the game, you kind of tend to revert back to that a lot for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned from John Regan, and he pushed T3. He's pretty old school, so you know, you push Clan, you push T3, that kind of shit. So anytime I do it,
yeah, I will say, I would prefer to push T3 up and eat more and still do a good amount of cardio than have no T3, eat nothing, and still do a lot of cardio. Because I've done both ways. No T3, low food, like no food is worse. The T3, when you use it correctly, is actually way better. So yeah, you just got to find the right amount for you.
See, super low food, what it does to your look is the bad part, right? It's like people would say, well, why do 2 hours of cardio and eat, I don't know, 3,500 calories? Why not just eat 2,000 calories and do less cardio? And it's like, you lose so much pop. At least if you're doing all the cardio and you're still eating, your muscles up here, they look better, bro. They look fuller. They look like there's something there. Whereas when you just starve yourself, I'm gonna just do 30 minutes of cardio, 1,500 calories, you really lose the performance. You really lose that pop. So you gotta find some kind of balance there. But
yeah, you got to keep your food as high as you can for sure. Yeah, that was the one thing with the coach that I worked with in the UK. Like I said, it was pretty good amount of T3, nothing crazy, but we were doing the 2 hours of hit, and we were eating like 3,000 to 3,500 calories on, like, we had like a carb cycle, and I was like, I can't believe how much food I'm eating, and I'm still shredded. Like,
Yeah.
again, one of the most shredded guys on stage. And I'm like, that was a lot of food. But I was also exhausted all the time from doing the cardio. But I didn't care because I looked better, you know?
That's
Either way, you're going to be exhausted. So you just know it's like, would I rather be eating and moving more or eating less and moving less? So you want to eat more and move more. Obviously, you're an athlete, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, DT has to do a lot of cardio and low food as well. So I
Yeah.
got a question for DT. Do you find that it's really hard to keep all your muscle and get shredded at the same time? Is that a difficult thing for
Yes.
you? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the
I honestly, bro, like, I don't, I don't know. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I'm like, I don't. It's there's a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about bodybuilding from our conversations that we
yeah.
talk about, our age and stuff. And I don't know if I'm doing North Americans. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Just as you get older, as we've talked, numerous times, you start looking at someone like Robin. Like, how the fuck am I gonna, if I got my pro card, how am I gonna go up against this guy?
Well, I'm saying that about, other guys too. So,
But that's the point of, I think, when we start looking at it. To answer your question, yes, for some reason I'm in this weird limbo stage where, like, I have to diet harder and I lose muscle. So everything I put in the off season, I'm like, man, I'm like, dude, I look fucking good right now. And then when I get to show, I'm like, what did all that go? Like, what? How did this? And it's not like, hey, take more drugs, but it's like, I don't know if it's like I know this might sound stupid, but like a pH balance within my body that I get so acidic that I start just burning through. Maybe it's a gut issue, or I don't know, maybe. But you start to look at yourself and then you look stringy. Are you full? You're like, you go through all these like different changes.
Yeah.
And at the end, you're like, fuck, dude, I'm not eating fuck. How am I supposed to fill up? Like, what do we do now?
It's difficult to be in that. That was PJ's entire career. It was like, holy fuck, how are you not pro? Look at you. You huge, you lean up. But then him trying to actually bring what they want him to bring, which is, some lines in his glutes, the lower back, he would go down to heavyweight. And then, he's like my height, and then he would just lose all the tissue. And you're like, what the fuck happened? It's like, and if people give you a bunch of advice, he's like, bro, I've tried it all. It's just like some people's body, it doesn't, because, okay, you have to do, it's like, you have crazy muscle belly, you got good body parts, you're in good condition. But for you to get that next level condition, the trade-off for you, not everybody can, if you don't have the best metabolism, it's very difficult to lose the body fat but keep the muscle, because you have to do such extreme shit to lose the body fat, and it's hard to
and
explain to.
I think there's always another level. There's always, especially now with the technology we have, man, there's always more you could do. There's always another way to get a little bit more peeled and preserve muscle. But you got to look at everything, man. Like, we can take a look like at like some of your protocols right now. It's like, well, how are you sleeping? Let's look at that first. Like, I invested in a few things that you could probably take your game to the next level. First of all, the 8 sleep machine, which is, it's an investment, but that's gonna, not only is it gonna monitor your sleep, but it's literally gonna keep you colder at night, so you're staying in a deeper sleep and not waking up and you don't sweat anymore. I don't sweat at all. 300 pounds, no sweat.
Yeah.
Trust me, bro. Before I got this thing, every single day, my girlfriend was like, what are we going to do about this? You're changing the sheets. You're making everything fucking disgusting. She's like, don't touch me. Like, this is gross. So I was like, fuck it. We're buying a king bed. We're buying all this shit. And it's just like, there's another level. And know that we got the Juve, the red light thing. People are like, oh, that's whatever. It's a medical device. It's just another thing, another tool. And then we got the Dolphin, the stim thing, or like those things, the pads that people put on. It's like, fucking slap that shit on every muscle. That's like, obviously there's degrees to using these things. I'm not saying abuse everything, because with that you got to be careful, because if you go too much on the stim, you can hurt yourself. So that's another conversation. But it's just another tool. It's another thing to get to another level. Obviously hire professional. Don't just go fucking start stimming yourself and hurt yourself. That's not what I'm saying. but you can also build up your team. Like, okay, do I have someone who's like looking over my training specifically? Like, are they watching me? Am I sending them videos and they're saying, like, you know what, bro, like, actually because honestly, even as good of a trainer I am, I'll train with Dorian, he'll be like, you're not spending enough time in the stretch. You're really good at just coming out of the stretch on
Yeah.
your presses. I'm like, oh, really? Because I feel like I go too slow on things. He's like, no, no, no. You're pretty slow on most of it, but then in the stretch, you're all the way out, like getting out of it really quickly. So just, okay, another thing to think about, another tool to use. Oh, a little extra, stretch and all of these things. Oh, I can't get my glutes. Well, why can you not striate your glutes? Like, are you not developed enough in your glutes to be able to have that muscle there? There's so many things you could look at. So fucking, I could rant about that, but I wouldn't just like
No,
throw in
that's
the
good.
towel and be like, oh no, it's done. It's no, bro. It's only done when it's done. Because like you were saying, if I can't go into the gym and train, like I go into the gym and I'm like everything is hurting and everything is broken. I can't train today. Okay, that's it. I got to throw in the towel. That's fine. I'll do that. But if I can walk in that gym and I can get a good
Yeah.
workout in and I can, manage to pose after and I can control the food I'm eating and I can get on the cardio machine, then I can fucking prep and I can still have a chance to win. Because if I
Yeah,
don't
no.
get on stage, because here's the thing, and this is what I told with Morgan. He was joking about the year before at the Vancouver. There was only like 5 or 6 guys in it, but he was top 5, and he goes, "Well, that's the top 5 is the top 5." I'm like, "Yeah, you fucking beat everybody else that didn't show up. That's for sure." You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
every
you got to
other guy,
show
it's like you stay in this game, and everybody else, you just see that another guy gone, another guy gone, another guy gone. I'm still here, motherfucker. And then you get what's yours.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
that's true.
So
Shit, that was kind of like Dexter's career. He just out, he was going against Flex and Chris, and he outlasted them. Ended up starting to beat them. And he starts
exactly,
right.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
people come and go, and he's still there. Dex is still there, so he's always there waiting to beat you. And
exactly, yeah,
yeah,
Me, Beatty and I were talking, I don't know how many podcasts ago, we were talking about like our age and stuff too, and like future after
oh,
bodybuilding.
yeah,
Like even Stu was like, well, if you got your pro card, how's it going to help you? And I was like, it could or it could not.
yeah,
What does it offer? Because once, I mean, me and Beatty were talking, I was like, once I got that, that's like the retirement card to say, hey, see you later.
Hey, well, that's it, man.
Um,
At least, yeah, you leave with a win, right? Get the dub.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's but then you look at a certain point where you're like, well, what's the benefit from it, and what's the pros and cons, right?
yeah. If it's
And
not if
it's
it's not adding to my life,
correct. And
yeah,
people will be like, well, do one more, see where you stand. It's like there's always going to be the 50-50 type of thing,
yeah,
for when we're talking to Stu, he was like, well, this is my life, this is my career, just like you, this is a career.
yeah,
Shit, I just got to help people with their hormones. That's my career. You know what
for
I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Everything else follows suit. But it's just funny how you start thinking when you get older too.
yeah,
You start to look, like Betty was saying, like business, where am I going? You start to look at all these things, and you'll never not be a bodybuilder, but
no,
it's just the competitive aspect. We're not,
yeah,
to be honest with you, you'll
100%.
never stop training and eating the way and taking shit. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is what it is,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
If I
It's
was,
so true, man. Like even like we had Brady King on. We were talking with Brady King. He went from the 212 to the open back to the 212 now. I'm like, why would you just keep pushing it up, right? He's like, well, I'm kind of starting to hate bodybuilding and not really feeling like I want to do it anymore, and this is giving me the spark to basically keep doing it. I'm like, okay, cool, I totally understand that. And that's why I
yeah,
said if I didn't feel like it was going to add to my my
Yes,
competitive prowess to go and continue to try to win shows, or if I thought, there's just no way, I'm just going to start sliding back and I'm just going to start looking worse. No chance. I wouldn't go on stage and subject myself to that, right? But if I believe, yeah, I could get better still. Yeah, I could hang with those guys and hey, I have a chance here. It's like, well, then you have to
for
fucking
sure,
go. You got to do it.
yeah,
for
Yeah,
sure. Sure.
and
yeah,
and also you're right because it is something that it's like, well, you've invested time in building yourself up in your career. It's the same thing here, and even if you feel like maybe even if you feel like getting to that next level doesn't help you, I still feel like it's worth trying unless you can't, because you never know. You never know what doors are going to open. You never know what opportunities. Even like when I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to bodybuild full time, try to get my pro card, drop out of school. I don't need school. Then I got my pro card. I'm like, why the fuck would I drop out? And I go back and get it afterwards. And, I don't think it's necessarily, helped my career that much to go and get my bachelor's of science or anything, but it was another thing being like, yeah, I got the dub there. I didn't leave something unfinished. And, it could feel like that for you with the pro card, because there might be a couple of years that go by and you're like, fuck, I'm still pretty good now. 5 years later, I'm still this good. Oh shit! So you just never fucking know. But but that's the thing is like you gotta always still weigh it out. It's like, am I loving this shit? Is this adding to my love for this shit, or is this subtracting from my love for this shit? So that's it. It's like, am I feeling like I love this shit? Okay, we're gonna prep today. And I don't love this shit. Well, we're still on prep. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. No, trust me. That was a conversation I had today, actually, and it's just funny how your mind gets you grow as a person too on a spiritual level. Like, there's a lot of different things that happens, I think, along this journey that are more of, they become physical at first, and then the mental side becomes later on.
Sure.
And I've been at this since I was 22, so that's a little bit, off and on. There's a lot of life that happens with inside, and you start to realize, like, man, I've been going for a while. Like, I should have been somewhere else, and I always say, like, I should have been a pro already, because I'm sure Beatty gets it too. How aren't you a pro? Oh, because I'm not, motherfucker. Like, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Because it's just funny because I'll be like, well, I'm a pro. I'm doing everything a pro would, so I'm a pro bodybuilder.
Right? Yes.
That's what I said. But before I was a pro, I would just be like, what makes me different than a pro bodybuilder? If I just do everything the same thing that a pro bodybuilder does, then technically, I'm living like a pro bodybuilder. I am a pro bodybuilder. Then you just getting the pro card. It's just, I haven't got my pro card yet. I am a professional bodybuilder, by the way, because I make my money off the way I look too, right? Pro card or not, right? But yeah,
do you think that? And this is for both of you. Go ahead.
Even for Beatty, it's like everybody says, well, Beatty's not a pro yet. It's like, Beatty's a pro bodybuilder.
Right.
Look at what you're doing. You're pro bodybuilding. What's the difference? I didn't get my pro card yet. Okay, whatever. Fucking, you're still pro bodybuilding. What would change? Let me ask. I
like that. That's a fucking good look. That's a good ass. I think that's a good fucking question, answer, statement. Like, even if you never got your pro card, you're still pro bodybuilder. This is what you do.
Well, the question you just asked, right? What would change, right? If anything was to change, that means you haven't been doing your job correctly this whole time. Because if you turn pro and things change, what does that tell you? You weren't really bodybuilding, right? So you were doing it wrong the whole time. Then the truth is that nothing should change at all, because that would tell you were living your life as a bodybuilder. The only way you're going to turn pro is if you, I don't want to say all in, because you can have a life, but more so like when you're bodybuilding, you're not dropping the ball. That's the only way to the pro card, right? So if you turn pro and then shit changes, the truth is you're never going to turn pro to begin with. If that's your mentality, think that, okay, when I turn pro, now I'm really going to take this seriously. You're probably never going to turn pro. Yep. So the truth is you have to be a pro bodybuilder before you become a pro bodybuilder. My first job ever was at this hotel. The hotel, they have the New York show, that the New York Pro and the Universe and all those shows. The Marriott Teaneck, New Jersey. Robin probably been there for the New York Pro.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was my first job, and I was banquet setup, right? And the supervisor told me something. He used to wear a suit, and then the guys would make fun of him. They were like, "Why does he wear a suit? Like, he's just a supervisor. He doesn't need to wear a suit. He's actually supposed to wear the uniform." And then he told me, I know the guys make fun of me, but the truth is that you got to dress for the position you want. And he ended up getting promoted to the manager. Why? Because people will come in and they will be like, "Where's the supervisor?" They see a guy in a suit. So now they keep talking to him, and then he builds these relationships, and then they want to speak to him. But before they even speak to the manager, so what happens when the manager leaves or quits or gets fired? They're gonna say, "Well, that's the one who has all the connections, anyways. Let's promote that guy." So you have to act, behave, and dress and be the part before you're ever going to get the part. Or the truth is, if he was just wearing a regular uniform, they would have probably given it to somebody else, right? Because he wasn't ready for the part. So until you become a pro in your mind and everywhere else, you'll never actually get your pro card to begin with.
Yep.
You know, so that's a that's the perfect way to put it. And also, to go back to your previous point, there's always a way, right? Whether you're willing to do it or not is up to you and where you're at mentally. And it might not be the right choice. I'm not saying it's the right choice to do it. I'm not saying sacrifice everything to get whether it's a pro card or whatever you want. But just know that you can do it if you choose to. It just might not make sense for you because, like, you know, like DT said, you change mentally, spiritually, everything. And it just might not be as important for you to invest all this time and money and buy a apnea mask and buy this for it. It just might not be worth it. But just know that if you do want to do it, it's there and it's in your grasp. For sure. If you choose to, you know. So
I still can't sleep with a goddamn sleep apnea machine. No, I have one. I can't sleep with it, man.
I can't even leave it on, bro.
I ripped that motherfucker off. I had the nasal thing. I had the full mask. I'm like, man, fuck this.
Why?
I'm trying, bro.
I try. No, me neither. I can't breathe with the fucking thing on.
Bro, it's like I don't know why, but I try to hype myself up. Okay, this is gonna make me better. Okay, let's do it. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Why is it so difficult to put a fucking mask on?
I goddamn tape my mouth. I've done my nose. I've taken so much melatonin to fucking put a cow down. I still can't fall asleep.
Yeah, I try to get high and put it on, but it's gonna relax me. It made it worse. I got more anxious. I'm like, oh my god, I'm dying. What the fuck? I'm like, why am I bodybuilding? Because you know when you get high, you start, what the fuck is this? Fuck this bodybuilding shit, motherfucker. You know, why am I 300 pounds? I can't fucking breathe. What the fuck is going on? Oh, so then it's like, yo, it's a mental game. So then I'm like, but the good thing is, for my size, my sleep isn't that bad. Like I'm not the person who's like choking and rolling and falling off the fucking bed. So
listen to this. You guys probably laugh at this one. So I get a lot of carpal tunnel if I don't wear wrist braces at night. So I wear 2 wrist braces every night on my wrist, and it keeps my wrist straight. Because if they bend, I'll get carpal tunnel.
It'll get numb, right? Like wake you up.
Oh yeah, and it'll wake me up. Yeah, and it's really annoying. So now, I'm just finding solutions, man. I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? Fucking by the times like I got the fucking eye patch, got the fucking tape mouth, got the fucking CPAP, got the 8 sleep, got the fucking everything. I'm like, okay, now we're just becoming like cyborg, you know, just trying to level up. But seriously though, actually that's one good thing. If you guys have never tried, if you guys ever have from GH, obviously having carpal tunnel, just get some wrist braces from like, you know, from the fucking drug mart and slap those bitches on and they work amazingly. I honestly didn't think they were going to work as well as they do. But
I was gonna fuck with you and say, I see you, Robin, promoting all that growth on. I was like, you sure you?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the problem with the 10 IUs, right?
Yeah, it works, but it comes with some, you know.
It's like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to lower the dose, go down? Like, no, well, I'll find a way.
See, listening to Robin speak today, I think it's clear that like why Robin is a pro, right?
Yeah,
he's willing to do the things that most people aren't willing to, and not just a pro, but like a top pro, right? You know, and he's beat so many guys that genetically speaking, he shouldn't, right? But it's like genetics aren't the end all be all. But there's some of the best genetics are still at the local level. I've seen some insane genetics, bro. And I'm like, wow, this guy could be a top pro, which is crazy to say for a guy who can't win like a local level show, right? But it's true. I mean, we can tell. We see all the bells and whistles, but we're just like, he's just not. Maybe he thinks he's doing the work, but I know he's way too far off for him to actually have really be. Maybe he doesn't understand the work that needs to be done. But so Robin is just willing to do all the shit that most people wouldn't even think about it. Like, people aren't even gonna. Who's thinking about wrapping their wrist, right? It's
No,
fucking
yeah,
up your
exactly.
sleep.
Well,
That
that's
shit
just
wakes.
it, man. And like, honestly, it was my doctor that told me to do that. And it's just like I'm honestly, it's not. I don't even want to say all these things and like make it seem like I'm the fucking best and I know everything because it's definitely not like that. I have a good team, a really good team, and I definitely wouldn't be able to be at this level and know all of these things without my whole team. And like, I got my doctor, I've got Benoit, I've got my trainer Eric, also obviously Dorian. It's like I talk to all of them about different things because they all have different specialties. So I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with this one specific thing. Let's say it's about training. I'm gonna go to Eric. We're gonna talk about my protocols. Obviously, go to Dorian. Things like this. It's like everybody needs that if they want to be their best. And I think it's unrealistic for us to be like, oh, we're gonna have one coach and he's gonna give me everything and know everything and help me with my posing and help me with my training and just oversee. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you, but you're also gonna pay me like 20 grand a year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of what people expect, but it's like, but it's up to you to make those connections and to create that team for yourself. And don't forget that everybody has a cost, and you better be willing to pay those people extra because if you pay them extra, they're going to be like, oh, I want to invest more time into Robin. He pays me extra. Oh, he gives me, extra benefits of working with him. So even though I'm doing a service for him, I'm getting more in return. And then therefore you get more. And so that's the way it works, right? So if you build this team up with your reciprocity, then it's like, well, you've got it all. Because
Yeah, I mean,
bodybuilding is not an individual sport. It's a team sport, but you highlight the athlete, just like in many other sports. But for some reason, people have this argument like, well, bodybuilding is not a sport and whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't need labels, still need a team, still need people to support you. That's how you level up, right? So, no, I think it's great, man. I think it's great. It's good stuff. And I'm happy to share for sure.
well, even having the awareness to put the right team around you shows dedication, though. So,
For sure. Yeah.
these are the kind of guys I personally would like to see winning shows, just because I feel like we highlight genetics almost like it's like it's a feather in your cap. It is, but you don't have to do anything to get good genetics. You just have to be born. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see somebody like a Flex Wheeler, and we'll praise him so much, and then we'll not all of us, but sometimes you'll hear people more down talk to like a Branch Warren, and it's like he just don't got the tools. What you want me to do? Or even Nick Walker. Oh my God, look at what the fuck he want to do with his body. That's the body he has. He's doing the best he can with the body he has. Oh, it's so disgusting. That's not, fuck that guy. His big waist, and it's like, motherfucker, that's what he's born with. He's working so hard just to compete with the guys he shouldn't even be able to compete with. So I think that deserves more respect, not less respect, right? We can't. We're showing a lot of love to the genetic elite, but it's like they didn't have to. They were born with that with those genetics, right? I always say if it's close, if a show is close, neck and neck, I'd rather go to the guy who doesn't have the better genetics, personally. Because, like I said, if it's Dorian versus Kevin and it's close, I'm going to give it to Dorian because I'm like, he out bodybuilded you. Yes, you're prettier, but he out bodybuilded you. And that to me counts for something. If it's close, not if it's,
Well, the Arnold for sure, that was a massive statement towards that direction, right? That was like a huge slap. To me personally, it would have been a huge slap in the face if I was Samson or Andrew to be like, oh wow, like I got that smashed in conditioning where it's like it wasn't even close. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm thinking like that. I'm thinking, okay, well, like I'm good. Of course I'm good. I'm really good. I'm there. I'm Mr. Olympia. But now how can I solidify this? How can I level up? How can I right? And obviously he's got his team, but I'm sure he could always continue to evolve on his team as well, right? So that's like
That's important.
that's your job now. Thinking it's like, well, who else do I need to help me with this? Like, dude, like I've tried seeing therapists, which didn't work out for me, but I've also seen like spiritual guides, quote unquote, which you would think that would be like some bullshit, but they actually help me out more So
Oh
you never
shit.
know. You never know, right? So I feel like when you're ready, you know what they say? When they say when you're ready, the teacher will appear. Kind of like that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got to be mentally ready for that shit, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Ready to learn,
Um,
ready to be coachable.
but when you give it to the guy who's working hard, or let me not say working hard because that can mean a lot of things. But when you give it to the guy who is bringing in the better condition and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Or being the better bodybuilder on that day, I think it breeds good habits, right? When Samson beat Nick, I was thinking Samson obviously has the better physique, but I'm like, that conditioning is just too big of a difference for
Yeah.
Samson to get it, and Samson got it. Imagine if Samson didn't get that, he would have already learned the lesson that he learned 2 years later, which is this year. He would have already been like, "Fuck that! That's never gonna happen again. I'm gonna bring in such good condition." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So letting that slide, what that does, it doesn't breed good habits. If anything, you saw how he post. Oh, they don't want me to be shredded. They gave it to Samson. Now I'm gonna come in bigger. It's
Mhm.
breeding people to come in worse. Just right.
Yeah.
So when you give it to the guy who's genetically better but isn't, out bodybuilding the other person, out conditioning, it breeds bad habits because everybody else goes, "What the fuck should I do the conditioning for if I still lose?" And then it instills in the genetic guy that, oh, I don't have to work harder. I just keep coming in like this. I'm gonna win. Which is
Yeah.
not. This is if Samson didn't win the Olympia, he would have been like, "Fuck, I still got to get more peeled. Fuck it," and then he probably would have won the Arnold. You know.
True. Yeah. I know, man.
So
Yeah. I mean, right now, Derek is out bodybuilding everybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody, you know? So,
So
and he's not
Guys, I'm
slowing
gonna have to
down.
run. I'm sorry.
no, DT, do your thing, brother. You already know, man.
Robin,
Yes, sir.
nice
Yo,
seeing
All right,
you.
bro.
yeah,
I'll
likewise,
see
brother.
you in Tampa.
Yeah, for sure.
And best of luck to you if I don't talk to you, brother.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk soon.
All right,
Lady, I'll
brother.
see you Sunday.
Yes, sir.
See you.
All right, bro. I catch you.
Uh,
So this is it a Canadian nation or is it
Canadian Nation.
or
That's good.
you
Beef
can't say
Nation.
fit beef sounds crazy. Fit beef doesn't sound
Beef
good.
Nation.
Beef nation.
That's good.
All right. Yeah, but yeah, I'm always a big believer in that. You can't over reward genetics because it just sends a bad. I think we can all appreciate it and be like, "Wow, Flex, Levroni, or these guys are beautiful." We can respect that the beauty of it, but it's still a bodybuilding show, man. You still have to bring the muscle and you got to bring it diced. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to hold some kind of criteria to that and not just say, he's prettier. He's not really in shape. Let's give it to him. Imagine if you try to step on stage. This is no disrespect to Samson or Andrew. Imagine if you try to step on stage in the condition of Samson.
Oh,
Bro,
it won't work.
they would be like, Robin,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. We're not even going to look at you. We're not even going to
100%.
compare you.
Yeah. Yep.
So that no matter how good your genetics are, it shouldn't that be that big of a leeway. We all I think we all should be held to accountable to bring in, they might not be as pure as you, but to bring in somewhat close to that look.
And you know what's crazy too is like, and because the margins get smaller and smaller too, right? So that was the difference between Vancouver and Chicago, plain and simple. It was like in Vancouver, I was 257 and I was dry and perfectly peeled, and in Chicago I was like 262, so I had an additional 5 pounds, which that was the difference literally between basically essentially being in the first place conditioning and being in the last place or last call out conditioning. First call
Yeah,
out
yeah,
conditioning, last call out conditioning was just a couple of pounds for me, literally.
exactly. Yeah,
So and visually to a certain degree, that's when you can get carried away because you're looking at the fullness and you're like, oh yeah, I'm fuller for sure. And then you get on stage and under the lights and compared to the other guys who are a little bit more dry, it's like
yeah,
I was like, holy shit, I look so crazy from the front. Turn around, I'm like, oh no, that's not my back. That can't be my back. Like my back doesn't
yeah,
look like that. Oh, that shit, like doesn't look right, you know? So it's just a little bit of water there. And like you said, so if I was not to say that was, I don't know, 5% off. If I was 25% off, it's like, dude,
yeah,
like
yeah.
people would be making videos about me being like, this guy was 16 weeks out on stage, even though, you know,
Well,
so, and
yeah,
and that's just it. It's like when you know that you have that thing that you're good at, you have to maintain that, right? It's like if Nick all of a sudden didn't have like the biggest arms on stage, you'd be like, what happened to his arms?
Yeah,
That was his thing, right? Or if for example if Andrew gets on stage and he's bloated, it's like that's not Andrew. Andrew has the best waist on stage.
100%. Yeah.
Big mistake, right? So yeah,
When we talk about the best of the best, the margins are so small.
yeah,
Like you go to a national show, first place in the supers, last place in the supers. There's a huge fucking difference. It's not even close,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You get you get to like a top pro show, but 1% off can bring you from like first to third.
yeah.
Just literally that half a diazide that you took or didn't take could bring you in just a little bit flatter or a little bit fuller enough to move you 3-4 placings.
Exactly, bro. Like even Stu experienced that from
Exactly.
like second, third, and then it's like now you're fifth. It's like, man, you can drop quick, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, okay. So at Cal, looking at Cal, right, with the naked eye, right, I'm sitting there, I got my glasses on, I'm watching, and I'm like, he looks the same as New York to me. You know what I'm saying? And then, some of the pictures come out and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I don't actually even know. I can actually pinpoint whether conditioning, whether fullness, whether flat. I can't. But it looked like he didn't have the same pop. That's the only thing I can
yeah,
see.
yep,
And you would think that shouldn't be a big deal because he's just as good shape. He's just as muscular. But something about the pop, like pushing under the skin, is not the same. And I was in his hotel room that night when he was full of food. He had crazy pop, but he had a pop in his belly too, right? So you can't step on stage with your stomach like that. So you have to pull it back. And just that little bit of pullback, it was I don't want to call it flattening because flat is a strong word. He wasn't flat, right? But just didn't have the same pop. And that was enough to take him, I forgot where he placed, thing fourth maybe?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
A show that I thought that he could have won for, I mean, I don't think easily, but he for sure could have won that show.
yep,
And he got fourth. So it's like, holy shit, so such a small difference. I'm sure him looking at himself, he like, I look just as good as New York, right?
yeah.
I mean, I thought the same thing watching
The judges too, really, because and for sure they have their opinions, right? So judges in Vancouver, they told me that they like my when I do my abs and thigh, they like when I do the oblique side one, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I did that one in Chicago because that's what the Vancouver judge said that they preferred. They're like, oh yeah, if you did that one, you probably would have placed a little higher. Okay, so thinking about that, that's what I'll change for Chicago. Boom. Get on stage, go to Steve. So what did you not like about my physique? Yeah, I don't like the way you hit your abs. I'm like, oh. So it's just completely different opinions. So
100%.
it's just, well, what is honestly just addressing your own physique? What is the most aesthetic way for you to present yourself? You kind of just have to objectify that, right? Because it is going to be subjective for bias on different judges, but you know what looks the best. If you're in tune, if you've been training this long, you know what looks better. A posing coach could tell you like, yeah, I want you to lift your arms up a little bit, and you're like, sure, but it just looks that much better when I have them just down a little bit. And that's just you working on your body because you know your body now, right? So all
be
these things, man. Yeah.
to be honest, I don't want to say don't. You should still talk to the judges after the show, but take it with a grain of salt.
For sure. Yeah.
They're only saying by what they saw that minute and how they personally feel. That doesn't translate to every judge, and it doesn't translate to every show. And they don't always know the technicalities of it. It can appear like you're softer, but you just might be flat. So they might say, well, coming harder. Not, they don't actually know what's going on in your camp. So I always say relay it to your coach. If anything, let your coach talk to the judge or just talk to your coach. Most people, I just say, especially on the amateur level, because it's bigger margins. I say after the show, talk to your coach. Don't even talk to the judges. Because what used to happen to me is, hey, what do you think? Right nowadays, you can't even talk to them in person. It's mostly email. But sometimes they'll talk to you. But it's like, okay, if you come in 10 pounds lighter, nobody's beating you. You come in 10 pounds lighter and a different judge, and it's like, like 10 pounds heavier. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, Sean Clarita, oh man, you were too heavy. You were what, 188? Come in 180. You got this. He comes in 180. Oh, what happened to your legs? You're flat. But and it's like, holy shit. So it has to be with a grain of salt. If you follow it verbatim, they still might not fuck with it. So
That's the thing is they're giving you like descriptions of words that they want to see visually. So you're like, okay, so this is a good example is, yeah. So I did the New York Pro 23. I got 8th, and then I turned around to Toronto and got 4th. So I definitely improved my look. So when I talked to Tyler after New York, he said, okay, I want to see you drier. Because I did actually sweat a little bit, but that was probably because I was nervous.
yeah,
He's like, I want you drier and tighter. I'm like, okay. So I told Dorian, I'm like, yeah. So Tyler said he wants us drier and tighter. And he's like, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill you out. I'm like, fill me out. I'm like, but Tyler says drier and tighter. He's like, okay, so we're going to fill you out and you're going to look better. Just trust me. And of course it worked because
exactly.
if you're already in condition and you're too flat, you're not going to pop, like you said. If
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're in condition, you maintain that condition and you just fill out more, everything's going to be pushing against the skin more. You're going to see more striations. It's going to look like you're in better condition. And
exactly.
it's going to look like you're drier and tighter because that skin is going to be more shrink wrapped because you're already
100%.
shredded, right? So, and that's the thing
100%.
is, in my head, I was like, that seems confusing, but it makes perfect sense. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
especially when you're emotional about it, you're like, oh, I just got off stage, I didn't get the placing I want. Please, like, give me some like validation. You want the judges to like tell you something good, right?
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
tells you something, you're like, okay, well, if we just do that, like, then like he'll love me again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so you're so emotional about what the judges told you because that's what you want. You want to please them, right? And then you just want your coach to make you look the way that it'll please the judges. And the coach is like, okay, they're telling you what they want to see visually, but to actually get you there,
A
I
different
will
thing.
give you a different protocol because they're not the coach. They're not saying, I want you to dry out and take a diuretic to dry out. They're not saying we want you tighter and we want you to lose weight to get tighter. They're saying, we just want you to look that way. And your coach knows your body or should know your body and should go, okay, if we fill him out, let's say 1 more pound, everything will just look that much better. So let's go for that look because that's your best look,
100%.
regardless of what the judge says. So yeah, you definitely have to take it with a grain of salt. And honestly, probably best thing to do after a show is not even talk to them.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
realistically, man, they just saw like 20 plus competitors, and
Yeah.
you weren't, and if you weren't like in the very very top, anyways,
Top two.
they,
If
yeah, if you
yeah.
weren't the top two, like they weren't really looking at you anyways. So they're not going to give you anything that you're going to really be like, super thrilled about, to be honest. If you're in the
Yeah,
top
yeah.
two, sure, they'll tell you, like, hey, you can win it next time if you just come in, whatever, X% bigger, fuller, whatever, and that could be cool. Like, oh, yeah, okay, perfect. Like, I'm motivated now. I'm almost right there. But, yeah, when you're fucking 16th, just go to your
Get better.
family.
Yeah, yeah. Go
Go
to
to
your
the people
meal.
that love you. Stay away from the judges. Don't fucking worry about it. They don't care about you right now, right? So, yeah,
And
it's
then
tough,
okay.
man. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow when you feel like, oh, I deserve to be that good, right? I worked hard, like I deserved. Like, why not me? And it's like, it's okay, man. It just wasn't your day.
That's
Don't
it. Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's one show. How many athletes go and they compete continuously? Do you think they all win every single time? No. You're gonna lose way more times than you win. So if you
Everybody,
get
yeah.
if you get better at losing, you'll be able to eventually win. But when people
Yeah.
lose and they can't handle loss, it's like that's pretty sad, man. Because then it creates bad sportsmanship and it creates a bad vibe for the other competitors and all that kind of stuff. And it can throw shade on like when people throw tantrums on stage, it just throws shade on the sport, and we don't need that shit, right? So your job, and that's why I say like you're a professional bodybuilder. No matter what, if you're getting on stage, you got to handle yourself like a professional, right?
100%.
You
You
have to.
can't
Yeah.
you can't it's impossible to learn how to win without learning how to lose. You can't do it. Losing is what teaches you how to win, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's a bunch of examples, but okay, if you would have met your girlfriend 10 years ago, you would have fumbled her. You would have lost her.
Oh yeah.
Because you had to fail relationships to know how to succeed at it. So you could have had the perfect girl for you 10 years ago and fuck up that whole relationship. Not purposely, not because you're like a fucking crazy, person. You just don't have the skills yet. So
Yeah,
to have the skill sets to win, you have to A-Train. The one Anthony that won the Arnold Classic amateur.
Yep.
He only won that show because he lost 2 weeks earlier. If he would have won that show, which I still, with all due respect, I still thought he won that local show. But good, like I said, don't give that guy the reward. He's way better genetically. Give it to the other guy. That guy who, just with a little bit sharper. But what that did is that now he's like, oh, now I understand. Okay, all these gifts, I still need to be sharper. Got you. I'm gonna show you sharp.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, came in sharper, beat probably the best super heavyweight lineup I've seen in I don't know how long, right? Yeah. If he didn't lose that show, Janicki would have beat him because Janicki actually still was harder than him, but A-Train has so many gifts that he was hard enough to beat Janicki, right? So Janicki would have 100% beat him. If he would have won that show with that look, he wouldn't have improved so drastically. So he had to learn that loss to win. Same with Janicki. Janicki keeps getting better because of the losses. If Janicki could have potentially won that USA against Joe, if he would have won that, he would have been a worse bodybuilder now. 2-3 years later, he would have been worse now. But he's only this good now because of that loss to Joe. And he's going to turn pro if he chooses to compete. But he's so much better because of the loss. So, you have to fail to succeed. Every business owner, talk to any successful business owner. I failed way more businesses than I succeeded in.
Yep.
Every single one, So it's part of the journey, and you have to understand that. But for bodybuilding, we all, unless you're delusional, we all know what we need to improve. Yeah. Maybe not that day. Show day, you're a little fucked up in the head. You might get off the stage and be like, what the fuck? I should have won. I should have. Take it, like you say, go eat with your family, relax. Yeah. You stay off social media. 2 days, maybe. Look at the pictures. Oh, yeah, he did beat me. Yeah. It was close, but he did beat me. And you'll know, okay, yeah, I need more sweeps in the quads. So even without asking the judges, you can look objectively at the photos later on and fully understand why you didn't win the show, and improve it. So it's more so a matter of putting in the work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's so funny, man. Like, I remember even after Vancouver, after shows that look good, even after shows that look bad, it takes me a while to be able to look at those photos. A little while, man. I cannot look at them. I cannot. Maybe the ones that like my buddies in the crowd will like send me some off their phone, and I'm shredded from the back, and but you always have those things that you're worried about on your physique. So they're in the back of your head. You're like, I don't want to look at the photos and see that. I'm not ready to see any weaknesses yet. I still want to believe that I'm like the most dominant champion. So it can be very much like a mental fuck to really go and analyze yourself right after a show, like immediately after a show. Takes a little bit of time to dissociate yourself, again, emotionally, just from that outcome. It's because you just want to you want to open that picture and just see fucking Jay Cutler, Mr. Olympia, 2009, staring back at you, and then being that's really me. That's what you want. Yeah. But most of the time we're so critical that we're gonna open that photo and we're gonna look at that one little imbalance on our left calf. I knew my left calf was smaller. You can see it right there. Fucking everybody saw that, right? But bro, people are looking at you like, holy shit, this guy's so shredded and so huge. They don't care about that. Maybe the judges do, because they're the ones that are really, really analyzing. But at the end of the day, they're also they're not doing it against you personally. They're just doing their job, right? So it's bodybuilding, man. We put so much pressure, and we have all these emotional ties to the outcome, and we don't even have control over the outcome. We only have control over those things we mentioned earlier. We don't have control over the placing. That's why there's so much there's so much anxiety, and there's all this like, I quit bodybuilding. It's unfair, and this politics. It's like it's just because,
I don't like to hear.
yeah, it's
I
just
hate when it
because
happens.
people they just can't handle the fact that it's competition. Plain and simple. It's a competitive fucking environment, and you have to be able to handle losses and realize that you're only losing because you have more to improve. Just like you said, when you're at the very top, then you're basically done. And being at
Yeah,
the top, even like we saw with Phil Heath, can be one of the most challenging things. So everybody who thinks that oh yeah, I want to be Mr. Olympia, I want to be at the top, I want to have 10 million followers, I want to be like the Trend Twins, I want to be like, are you sure you can really handle that?
they
Because
can't.
you can barely handle what you're dealing with now. So
They
really
can't
ask
handle it.
yourself, you know what I mean? Like,
They
yeah, I want all that, but I want it to be easy for me. I don't want to have all the negative stuff that comes with being super famous and popular and being Mr. Olympia. I don't want people to criticize me that much. I'll just stay
they
where I am.
can't.
It's more comfortable here, right?
They can't handle it. They
Yeah,
can't handle it. Yeah,
yeah,
because it's easy to critique people in the moment. Why would Phil Heath respond to Louis Marco? He's a human being. You think he doesn't have feelings? Look at you in your comment section.
yeah,
You have 10 comments. You got one negative comments. You're going back and forth for 2 hours, but
yeah,
you're telling Phil Heath he shouldn't respond. Why? He's a human too. He's on hormones too. He's lean too. He's not. He goes through the same shit you go through. So why would you think that you would get an emotional response, but he shouldn't? Well, but he's Mr. Olympia. He's different. The only difference is genetically he's better than you. That's it. But
yeah,
he's not different. He's a human being with feelings, just like you.
yep,
So it doesn't work how people think it's gonna work. But yeah, to go
yep,
back to your other point about I hate seeing the scorned bodybuilder
yeah,
that blames bodybuilding for all their choices, right?
mm-hmm,
Seeing Cali Muscle the past couple of years, right? And I've been following Cali since before he even started doing like the trendy stuff. Like I remember when he was in Oakland doing fucking muscle ups and shit in the park, and he had all this drive. He was a big dreamer. He wanted to be a pro bodybuilder, and he accomplished a lot of good things. He had a
yeah,
bunch of commercials and this that, and then once he has the heart attack, he's on this crusade against bodybuilding, and it's like bodybuilding still gave you the success you had. I know you don't bodybuild anymore, but the following and everything you've amassed for it has come from bodybuilding lifestyle. Now, maybe it's a genetic thing. Maybe it has something to do with all this what do you call it, mukbang stuff, all the fucking ramen noodles and fried chicken, all this shit didn't help. So to blame the sport for your heart attack is, first of all, you chose the sport. You chose to take steroids. Nobody made you take it. We have to be accountable and not be mad at the sport for our condition. He's still very successful, right? And he's alive. He didn't die. So I don't like when they get mad at the sport for their decisions, or maybe some things went left. Things go left sometimes, but you have all this positive that you got. Can we still keep it positive? You can inform people, hey, there's going to be risks to steroids. We all, I think we all inform people that there are risks, but we knew these risks before we got into it.
yep,
So don't play we're men. Don't play victim when something goes wrong. We chose it,
I agree,
so
100%.
be smart. We're not eating ramen noodles,
Yeah, yeah,
because we know that's probably not good for us right now. So
exactly.
you have
No,
to do
it's
responsible.
I can already see it. You open up fucking YouTube and you just see the title like "Steroids Ruined My Life," and it's like it's already got over 1 million views, obviously, just because it's like so clickbaity and it's so just like cringy because it's really embarrassing to be like watching a man, like you said, cry about his own choices. Like, oh,
Exactly.
trend, it like made me feel like this. It's like, no, it didn't. Like, oh my god, dude, like I can't. But that's the thing, like, and I don't want to judge people that do this kind of type of content because I mean, I watch myself and I'm embarrassed of stuff I did, but at least I had the
Yeah.
awareness of like that stuff I'm not putting out there. Like, I'm still going to try to put my best foot forward and be a positive influence online. Like, whatever I say behind the camera, like, nobody's going to see that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that's a moment of weakness. I'm going out there. I'm trying to empower people. I'm trying to put myself in the best light, right? Because why would I put myself being like, yeah, like, you know what, man? Actually, it'd be better if we owned up and said, you know what? I didn't play my 20s out properly. What I did was very reckless, you know.
exactly.
When I was hiring coaches and they told me to take this amount
Accountability.
of drugs, I took extra. You know, I didn't know the things about, taking care of your heart health. I didn't know how to get blood tests, and if I could go back, 15 years, this is what I would have done differently in XYZ, and this is exactly what I would have done, and this is who I would have talked to this about, and that's the way to do it. You know,
100%.
now
Yeah.
now you're sharing your unfortunate negative experience in a positive way because someone's going to see that and they're going to go, oh shit, like, well, I just started my steroid cycle and like all I see is all this amazing content about how great it is. Now I'm seeing that there are some negatives, but I'm also seeing that there's a way that I can do this in a positive way and not bash the
Exactly.
industry and not bash like steroids because steroids, people are like, oh, steroids are bad. No, no, no. People just don't know how to use them. Guns are bad. No, no, no. People just don't know how to use them, right? It's like
100%.
the stove burnt me. The stove is fuck the stove, man. Fucking hate stoves. They always
Yeah,
burn
yeah.
me. It's like
Exactly.
stop putting your hand on it, right?
100%.
Same,
Yeah.
and like and dude, like even having like drug addictions, having friends with drug addictions, seeing people die from drugs. It's like it's the same thing. It leads you down the same road because you get addicted to the steroids. So admitting that, oh yeah, steroids are addicting. They're definitely addicting because I see the results, love the results, love the way I feel. So as long as we don't glorify steroids, as long as we share and be transparent about our use, then I feel like we're doing more good than harm. But if we're just talking about, you know what, like I spent all my time like doing this sport and I got nothing out of it, and it's like no, you made
Yeah.
money off it, and especially with Cali Muscle, I was inspired by that guy. I was like, that's awesome. He's to me, what I saw was he was a guy that was trying to do it with almost like the low budget, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like a scum of the earth, but I'm turning my life around, and this is how I'm doing it. Even if you've got nothing, you can still work out, you can still eat a healthy-ish diet. Like, the ramen noodles, he definitely took that shit to the extreme. But that's the way that social media is it creates this viral content because it influences us to do those extremes because that's what gets the views, right?
Yeah.
So if he wasn't doing like those crazy, like I remember like the Dorito, what was he doing? Like putting fucking
Brushing up.
a whole bag of Doritos and then like making like a soup with it, or like it's like, yeah, this is 8 million grams of sodium. It's like, okay, well, that's gonna get views. That's gonna harm you. The fact that it's harming you is what's giving you views. So that's a downward spiral. But it's like I mean, you can't hate the game. I mean, the game, you chose to play the game, bro. You chose to
That's
play the game, and it's
that's
it's
it.
up to you to how you play
Absolutely.
it. It's really up to you to how to play it, right? Because like whether or not you hurt yourself or not intentionally, it's still doing harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still doing harm.
Well.
You have and it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning is you have to realize when you set out, I'm going to take this. Here are the pros, here are the cons. Just like DT was saying, it's like, is this going to help and improve my life, or is it going to take away from my life? If you haven't made up your mind in the beginning, then you're already fucked,
Exactly.
right? Because no matter what
Exactly.
happens, it's like, well, you're just going to blame the steroids, you're going to blame the whatever, you're going to blame somebody else, the coach. Oh, it's the coach's fault. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it was the coach's fault. How many times do we hear that one, right?
The way I look at it, I feel like once you're a grown adult, you're no longer under the guide of your parents. It's not somebody else's job to take care of you. Everything that happens in my life, it's my fault. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
I don't care what it is. It's my fault. I put myself one way or the other. I put myself in this position. Even like let's say like an ex does me wrong or something like that. For instance, I'm gonna blame myself for making the decision to be with her. With the red flag, whatever case.
You attracted her. Don't blame her. You attracted her. You picked her.
Like,
you
100%.
brought her in. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So even like there was the thing I used to say, oh, the good girls don't want me. I always get these like trashy girls, right? But then now I'm like, you know what? There's a reason why I'm attracting these girls. Whether I want to look at myself in the mirror or not, there's a reason. There's always a reason. And it's just easier to blame somebody else. You know what? It's because my dad didn't show me any affection. That's why. Yeah, that's why it's like that. I'm not saying it's not true. That might have played some part in it, but you're grown now, so you have to figure that out, and you have to.
That's just a story. That's just a story. It's just like another book on the shelf. It's just a story you've written. It's a story you've written and you've wrote it, and you've decided to believe it.
Makes you
and
feel
it's
better.
just a fairy tale because it doesn't even exist anymore. It's just an imagined story. That's the thing about and the thing is like I've had to come to realize this because I've gone through traumas, and I didn't understand how to deal with my traumas. I thought you just have to keep talking about them, and then people are gonna like guide you through them, and it's like you just have to believe that all of that stuff is in the past. It's all in the past.
Done,
And whatever you have going on now is actually a result of how you were thinking in the past.
Exactly.
So if you think, I don't like where I am now in my life, I think that I'm in a bad spot right now, think, what did I do to get here? Let's go back. Well, how did I play out the last year? Oh yeah, well, I was going to those parties a lot, and I was meeting a lot of those types of girls, and then I got involved with that one girl, and then all of a sudden we got a place together, and then now we don't have a place together anymore, and like my life is in shambles, and I'm broke. It's like, how did I get here? It's like,
it's
okay, well, you're here now. Okay, so now that you're here, where do you want to be? Yeah. Where do you want to be? It's like, oh, I want to be actually where I was before was better. So I want to be in my own place with all my stuff. Okay, so now you got to go back. Okay, now let's bridge the gap there.
Yeah.
Now think about okay. So the next time I get into that situation, what would I be doing differently, or what would that person be? How would that person be different the next time I get involved with that person? Okay, well, they're not going to be a fucking drug addict or something like that, right? It's like
exactly,
and it's like, well, that's all you. Has nothing to do with anybody else, because those people would never have come to you if you weren't attracting them in the first place. If you were intentionally seeking them out. Believe it or not. Yeah, you were intentionally seeking those people out. Believe it or not. So that's why they're in your life. and that's just the way it works with everything. Right?
It's all perspective.
Yeah.
But to go back to the bodybuilding thing, who does a good job of always showing bodybuilding at a good light, even though it's negatively affected him in some ways, was I noticed that about Fuad. Right.
Yeah.
Because he has a kidney issues. I mean, he's open about that, right? And he had a bunch of injuries from bodybuilding. A bunch of anxiety from bodybuilding. But he talks about it not in a way like in a victim way, in a way to help like empower somebody who's going through it. Hey, if you're going through it, I've been through it. This, that. But he always makes sure he talks about the positive bodybuilding part of him. And he has a very successful business due to bodybuilding. So he always paints it in the best light possible. Even if somebody on his podcast is being negative toward bodybuilding, he'll kind of step in. Yeah, but there's two. I've noticed he always wants to keep it. He's proud to be a bodybuilder. He's not like trying to. Oh yeah, that thing I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm making good. I'm rich now. Fuck that sport. But
exactly, bro. I hate that shit. When people, it's like you used to be proud of being a pro bodybuilder. Now you're putting stuff like ex pro bodybuilder in your bio. It's like now you're proud to be an anti bodybuilder. Like
it's weird.
It just seems so weird to me. It's like
there's somebody doing that right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to say his name because he seems like a nice guy. But they're the pro. I recently seen. I think like a week ago I saw a video on it, and then he's been kind of talking. I'm sure you probably know who I'm talking about.
I don't know. No, I don't actually.
Yeah. I mean, he's like a really nice guy. So I don't want to say his name, but he made a video talking about. I'm guessing he retired now. I didn't know he was retired, but he was kind of talking about how like negative bodybuilding was. I didn't watch the whole video, so I probably shouldn't even comment on it. But from the part, I couldn't listen to the whole thing because I get annoyed when I hear, when I kind of
Yeah.
hear I'm like, oh, not this kind of video again. I'm tired of hearing. We get it. Maybe things didn't go the way you wanted to, where the place, and I think I dislike it more when it's related to placings. Because shit,
Yeah.
I mean, if you got your health, if it's like more of a placing thing that's making you feel like that, I can't really respect that. I'm like, get over it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You just didn't place well. It's okay. You could move on and still use bodybuilding to make money, which I'm sure he's still doing,
Yeah.
using what he's learned from bodybuilding to make money. So just, I think there's a way to do it. Like we just talked, he could do it in a way that he's helping you not go through that, but acknowledging that, maybe it didn't go where he wanted to go, but it's okay. It's
Yeah.
not, bodybuilding didn't hurt you. It's not evil.
Exactly. I would say I'd like ask the question and be like, all right, dude, like, so would you rather be first place, but you lose your health, or would you rather be last place, but you're perfectly healthy? So you think about it's like first place is like, yeah, you could be Mr. Olympia right now, actually, if you want, but also you're gonna have to go on dialysis the day after. It's like, oh,
Yeah, good point.
yeah, I'll just take the last place and stay healthy then, I guess, right? It's
Good
like
point. Yeah, yeah.
obviously, like who would choose? Yeah, I'll just no. You want to be Mr. Olympia and be perfectly healthy, obviously. But if you had to choose, you only get one or the other. You can be
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia right now, but you're on dialysis for the rest of your life,
There's no
or
way. There's
you
no
can
way.
stay exactly where you are and you could be perfectly healthy. It's like, okay,
Can't
that's a
trade
little
that.
bit of a different perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
You
yeah,
can't shit. Even if you won fucking like we all love and respect Ronnie, and uh I think Ronnie is actually being honest. Like when he says he wouldn't change anything, I don't think he's just saying that.
I don't know,
I
man.
believe Ronnie.
I
Me
believe him
personally,
too. I believe him too, but I do believe him 100% because he did the thing, man. Like he was
yeah.
all in and then some. It's like if he was any less, he would regret that.
And he's not complaining. Think about that. Ronnie doesn't
Exactly.
complain.
Yeah.
Ronnie
No.
is, and he's making a bunch of money now.
Yeah.
Ronnie is not complaining. He know what he did, and he'll take it. It
Yep.
is what it is, and that's
Exactly.
how you handle it. He's not
Yeah.
over here crying and right. It happened. I'm in a wheelchair. Cool. I'm getting stem cells done. I have beautiful kids. I have a night. I'm doing
Yeah,
my thing.
exactly. That's it, bro. Because you don't have the choice. That's the thing. Nobody. Like, I'm not coming up to fucking Ronnie Cole and be like, "Hey, Ronnie, like, yeah, so we got your Olympia check here. Like, you can have it. By the way, you have to be in a wheelchair afterwards." Or it's like you can let someone else win and you can stay out of the wheelchair. He
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 didn't
never
know.
had that choice. He was just like,
No.
"I'm doing it all in. I'm the champion. No one's gonna fuck with me." Of course, you're not gonna have any regrets because you were the champion for 8 years. You're the best of all time. No one's even come close. Who knows if
Yeah.
anyone will even come close?
I
You know what I
understand.
mean?
Yeah.
So in that case, yeah. But yeah, and then you got the other guy. He's like he worked just as hard. He did all this, but he was like third callouts in every pro show, and now he's like the guy making the videos, being like, oh, like the judging is rigged, and bodybuilding is unhealthy, and it's like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, man. It just didn't work out for you, and it just, but it also could have been what got you to that point. Maybe it was all the other shit that got you there. The negative attitude that you have now, it's like, did you just develop that? No, I think you were developing that for a while. And that's
Exactly.
probably
Yeah.
why you're in that position. Because, I mean, go
Listen.
look at the champions, man. The champions, they love what they do.
Mhm.
Go look at like Derek and even like Ronnie. You can tell like they love everything they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there
It's
wouldn't
one
be a
of the things.
regret. If you live your life doing everything you love to do,
Can't be.
why would you regret anything?
In a perfect world, right? I would try to stay as healthy physically as possible. But I mean, you can't predict the future. So in a
Yeah.
perfect world, I would like to believe I would rather have stayed healthy. But if it happens, let's say it already happens, how can I sit there and say I regret it? Because what if I could have very well been in the wheelchair and have zero Olympias, right?
Yep. Yep.
So he could have been Ronnie. He could have maybe never hooked up with Chad or never talked to Flex and continue to be like last call out and still be in a wheelchair anyways and be poor, right? So you can't really have the regret. It already happened. Count your blessings. That's it. In real time, I think because we've seen some of these things, we're actively trying to stay healthier physically. But there's no promises. We could still be in a wheelchair. Like, we don't fucking know. So there's no point. The regretting doesn't help you. It's just that do things in the best way possible. And he probably in his mind believed that he was taking good care of his body. He was seeing a chiropractor and this and that. So at that time, for what his perspective was, with what he knew at the time, he probably was doing his best to stay healthy. It just didn't work out that way, because you only know what you know at the time, which is all you can do. But
Exactly.
you want to try a couple questions?
Yeah,
If we
for
got
sure.
something doing. Yeah, that's another thing. You have to forgive yourself in life because
Yeah.
we're all doing the best we can with the tools we have.
I really love that podcast that they did with Dennis James, and they had Flex on, and they had
I saw that.
those guys, and they were talking about their biggest
Chris.
regrets. That was a really good podcast, man, because when Flex was talking about his biggest regrets, it's like that's pretty deep, man, because he was so close to being the best, and like his mindset just wasn't allowing him to get there, and everybody knew he could have been there, but he just didn't allow himself to get there, and he like now he has to live his life regretting that, and that's hard to deal with. You know what I mean? It's like that's some deep stuff, man, because that is, again, it's like we go through all this stuff, like we know what it feels like. It's like you're that close, like you just got to keep pushing, like I could just be that much better, like why can't I just lock in? Like every single athlete has had those thoughts. It's like there's so much pressure, but
That's
the way that he's able to still share is really, really important, because that's how he's going to be able to relate to other people, because otherwise nobody would have any idea. Only like his very closest friends would have known what he was going through, and how he actually was acting in real life during that time. Because all you're going to hear and all you're going to know about him is the highlights, right? And then and guys nowadays, they're going to be like, well, why am I so fucked up? Why can't I just be like a champion? Like, why is my mindset so fucked up? It's like, no, he was actually more fucked up than you are. You're actually in a pretty damn good spot. So yeah, think about that. Like, imagine, like, you can have the best body in the world, but you're gonna have the worst mindset possible. It's like, you really want to live like that? That's torture. That's like hell, right?
that's tough.
So, yeah. So there's all these perspectives, man, and I think that's why, like, that was such a good podcast, because he was even talking about how he was suicidal, which is crazy,
Yeah.
to see someone at that level in his prime, still not even want to live his life. So yeah,
Bro, I've had so many deep conversations with people in our industry, out our industry, really successful, who've said things like that,
yeah,
and then it's like we always think that you can't struggle with your own demons because you're doing so well in life. But when we say doing well, we're talking about only one aspect in life. We look at, like, well, you're doing good on stage or financially. That's one small, or it might not be small. There's one aspect of your life. Everything else could be in shambles, but we won't look at that. We'll be like, how are you? I remember the rapper Big Sean said that, and everybody's like, "Boy, you get all these girls and you got all this money." He's like, what? He's not even thinking about that type of shit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's so many parts of his life that you're not privy to
Shout
that's
out to
that's
Big
in
Sean, bro.
shambles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to Big Sean, bro. He's one of my favorites for real. Yeah,
I like him. Yeah,
yeah,
he's a real person. He's a real
yeah,
person. But
yeah,
that's important to understand, that just because you're thriving in this point doesn't mean, But Flex has talked about in the past that he said he was miserable. He said he was he was getting money. He was rich. He had the girl of his dreams, the car of his dreams, the house of his dreams, and he wasn't happy. And
yeah,
it's probably hard to say that in the moment because you don't want to sound ungrateful, but
yeah,
it's like it's the truth. He's just like it wasn't. I guess it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. So
yeah,
that's life. We can't assume that people aren't suicidal or people are enjoying their life just because they have something that we want. But like
yeah,
you said, you
exactly.
don't even know if you could handle it. A lot of people couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So
Even
yeah.
even when I got to train and get to know like Ben Pekulski a little bit more, And when he told me about how, like, basically, he was so focused on being Mr. Olympia, and he was like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes. Like, it's all in. Like, how he used to be. He was a savage, man. Like, to be honest, Ben Pakulski, in my opinion, is one of the hardest training people of all time. He would have more than one training partner just to get through a workout with him. I honestly was like puking working out with him like once or twice. And then even like honestly, like even after his prime, he was still a savage in the gym. But it was the mentality that he said basically once he got to a point where he had his first child, it changed his perspective, and he was like, well, I don't necessarily feel like I can be that savage in the gym anymore, the type of person that would risk my life like that, the type of person that, would, put my health at risk, essentially, right? And then when he had his second child, it was just like, I don't even have any desire to do this. Gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but when you look at him, like he was successful and he's healthy and he's built a business after, and I think that would be like, it's like, well, he's not Mr. Olympia. It's like, okay, it doesn't really matter because he's got everything else, like you said, right? So yeah, and then it's like, well, what if he was Mr. Olympia? Just like what we said, like, well, what if you got your pro card? Nothing would change. He would have the same life, basically, right? Everything would maybe he got a few extra cars in the garage. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Sando, right? The Sando's, we all want that fucking Sando. But does it really change your life?
Not
It's just
really.
another statue. It's just, it's another trophy, man.
Li-
It's,
li-
yeah. It's another
happens.
accolade. Yeah.
Life happens in phases like that. Like when you're first all in your 20s, you can't see a life outside of like training and eating and bodybuilding, and then slowly you start maturing and other things start to make more sense, and you have desires to do other things, but you still have that desire in bodybuilding, and then eventually it goes like this, and that's when it's your time to exit. You don't want to just be like this until your body completely breaks apart, and then now you're like, whoa, that was an abrupt ending to bodybuilding. Now what? What the fuck do I do? That's
Yeah.
you want it to be a gradual, like natural kind of ending, like happened with Ben. Like, you know what? Now it's different now with the first kid. With the second kid, you know what? I think I'm ready to leave. And you already
Yeah.
have your businesses, and you could seamlessly make out. Not just you're at the top of your game, and then you maybe go too long, boom, injury, and then now you're like, what do I do next?
Exactly. Yeah. See that. Yeah. It's like that with a lot of things, don't you think? Different stages in your life. Like, for example, I think back to when it was the party stages. Like, because when I got into bodybuilding, I did no partying. I only partied when I was like 21. Because I'm like, I'm so isolated from everybody. I have no friends. I got to make some friends, right? Like, I got to do something. So I go and party, and I'm like, okay, well, then there was like a maturing when I got to like 25, 6. I'm like, well, okay, now I'm entering the next phase of my life. I'm thinking about business. I don't want to party. I don't want to waste my time. Time to exit. Make that smooth transition before it's too late. Because you see those guys, you see those people that it's like, yo, that guy's been around this party for a little too long, bro.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
he's starting to break down, like you said, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, like this is my time to experience it, and it's when it's my time to experience it, you got to stay in the moment, like live, like they say, enjoy the journey, be present, all those things, super important. And then also when it's time to make that exit, like you said, you gotta know when to do it. That's like being graceful with your exiting of the sport, or exiting or transitioning into different phases of your life. Thinking about also how like Ian did it. Ian he's like, okay, won the show. I'm just gonna keep my best Olympia placing as it is because I don't think I'm gonna be able to do better than that. Risk the potential of slipping down. Not worth it. Boom. Good call, right? From the outside looking in,
Great
it's like
call.
you're crazy. Like, how could you not do the Olympia? It's like, yeah, because I didn't believe that I was going to be able to match or better my previous best,
I think
right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think he made a great choice. Especially
yeah.
now in hindsight, looking at it.
That's
But
that's that's it. Let's like no bodybuilder wants to step on stage and not beat their previous best. That's
um,
really what it all comes down to. Like placing aside, you want to see your physique improve. That's really what it comes down to, right? But
Exactly.
yeah. Let's do a couple of questions, and I'm gonna
Step out.
go make some food. Yeah.
These questions look like they're listening live to the podcast.
Yeah.
It said, what would you tell your 18-year-old self knowing everything you know now?
Um. Well,
That's a
I
broad
did a lot
question.
of things right when I was 18 because I hired a personal trainer right out of the gate who was a competitive national level bodybuilder. So he told me everything I needed to know, basically with training and how to prep. I stayed natural for at least what is it, 2-3 shows. I feel like that was a good
Okay.
amount, appropriate amount of time. But if I could go back and tell myself, I would say, just don't. I don't know, man. Don't drop out of school. That's one thing. I would say just stay in school. That's the number one thing. And also I would say, yeah, always try to have a mentor at all times. Try to have somebody giving you guidance in your life. That's what I would say. You don't want to be like a total solo lone wolf. I feel like you can get lost in the woods pretty easily that way. So you should always have like a good support system. That would be my if I could go back to 18, just start developing that earlier and build up a good support system and not just take anybody who comes into your life, not letting everybody in. I
Yeah.
would say,
Okay.
being more selective because when I was 18, I was very naive, very naive. The first time I went to a party and I was 21, and I was more jacked than most people. Obviously, at the time, I was already Mr. Junior Canada at 21 years old, and I was around, I don't know, maybe 220 pounds, like shredded at the time. So I'm going to a party and like getting a lot of attention, and I just assumed like, well, everybody's so nice, everybody is so freaking friendly and so nice. I had no idea that they were only nice because they're on drugs and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's like when you're naive, it's a totally different perspective. So you can easily just let people come into your life because you don't have that ability to discern those types of energies yet. That comes with the maturing, right? So when I was young, I
Yeah.
had a lot of chaotic energy around me, and and kind of like we were talking about, it's like I would end up in these situations. I'd be like, how did I get here? It's like, yeah, look who you're surrounding yourself with, right? So that's what I
Yeah.
would say. Again, just because you're young, you're impressionable, you see someone who's bigger and more jacked than you, and you just kind of follow along like a puppy dog sometimes when you're young, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What about
Um.
you? What
See,
would you say?
the hard part about these questions is that, um, even though I have a lot of advice I would give to myself, I wouldn't have listened. I'm 18.
Yeah,
Because I felt like there were people who were giving me advice, right? Whether it's real life or bodybuilding, right? There were people since I was 16 telling me, "Hey, bro, clean up your form. You don't have to go that heavy. Don't get injured." It's not. So
yep,
I was already hearing these things. I'm just 18, and I just want to experience life the way I wanted to experience life. So there was nothing you could really tell me that was going to change my mind. Um, so it wouldn't be something that would be like maybe educational in that way, but I'll say one of the things is that I probably would have got like some kind of degree,
mm,
and not that I would have used it. I don't think I would have used it, but just to have that pillow that I know that if anything in life that if I wasn't successful in the way I wanted to be, I could always have something waiting for me. Just that pocket would allow me some comfort, where I didn't have any comfort, and I felt like I always had to find a way to produce,
yeah,
even if it wasn't the best morals, or if it wasn't legal, and that's you don't want to be in a place where you're willing to do everything that need where they're willing to do anything to make a buck. That's not a good
yeah,
position to be as a young person, and a lot of people are in that position. But it's not like we said. You don't want to blame your surroundings, even though there's a lot of truth in it, obviously.
yeah,
But be accountable for yourself, like I just said, right? I had the ability to go to school. I could have continued going to school and get more of an education. So that would have helped me maybe not be in that position. But once again, like I said, you're young, decision making is not that good. So that's something I would have done. Um, I probably could have gotten a scholarship through sports. If I maybe applied myself even more. So that would have been one way to do it. And the second would be stop putting so much pressure on yourself to be in certain positions at certain ages, right? Because in my head, I was like, by the time I'm this age, I want to do this, and then if I didn't do it, I would be so down on myself that it wouldn't be conducive mentally and emotionally. I think
Yeah.
we all do that to some extent. Even so, we're probably still doing it.
Yeah.
By the time I'm 40, I want to, so
100%.
give yourself some more grace. You can work hard and be graceful to yourself, but yeah, that would be a couple of things
Yeah,
that I'll probably
comparing
tell myself.
yourself. That would be a big one, you know? That's a
Stop
big
doing
one.
that.
Yeah. What I
Yeah,
see,
right.
what I see that's crazy, and I talk with a few of these kids, is there's like 17-year-olds that are like, they're already like 250 pounds plus, man.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. And, Logan Dishman?
No,
He's
no,
a
I
freak,
probably,
man. He's 17-year-old freak. He's on Instagram, Logan Dishman. Yeah, you guys check him out. He reached out to me. He's like, he doesn't seem like a humble kid, but he's a humble kid. But obviously, when you're on Instagram, you're gonna portray yourself differently. But he's a good kid, and he sent me some videos to take a look at his training form, and I gave him some cues, and he was really he's a respectful kid, but he's a freak, bro. And
yeah,
it's like if I was 17 and looking at that kid, do you know how fast I would jump on gear? Like
yeah. That's the
I
thing.
would look at him and then I would just be like, okay, you know what I mean? Because that's the obsessive nature of comparing yourself. Is like, oh, I'm 17, he's 17, I need to be where he is, or else I'm lesser. It's like, oh man, like that is such a slippery slope because it's only going to get crazier. It's only getting crazier because these kids they have the drive, they have the gear, they have the genetics, they have the everything, and you're going to see more and more of them because there's what I used to see when I was competing. Probably saw like when you were competing earlier, when you were maybe like early 20s or like late teens. Is there was also a lot of these guys, a lot of young guys who were juiced up and they wanted to be like the best for Canadians. It was like the best junior Mr. Canada or like the best junior Canadian bodybuilder, which was pretty intense to see 16, 17, 18-year olds juiced up and already pushing like 250 pounds. So it's nothing new. It's just the fact that you're going to see more of them because there's more exposure and they have the ability to put themselves out there and grow really fast, like with followers, right? So it's so crazy, man, because a lot of these kids I see from like my era, a lot of these kids they came and went. They were like me, Joe Seaman, Ian Valier. We all competed together back in 2011. In,
Yeah,
in, in 2011, there was a class of 15 juniors, and more or less only three of us are now pro bodybuilders. Some of us now retired, but for the most part, you know, we're the only guys that kind of made it through, right? So it's crazy because it's like everybody wants to separate themselves, but you're not going to be able to do it any faster than anybody else. You're going to have to play that long game, even though it seems like it's a sprint. You have to remember it's still a marathon and always will be.
yeah, yeah. Shit.
Like thinking back to like when I told you I did the prep in the UK. When I got back and I started training here in Canada again, I remember putting up a YouTube video, which is like 10 years old now, probably. Yeah, more. 13 years old now, 2012. And I came back and I was like 230 pounds because I rebounded a little bit. And I said, you know, keep following along my journey. I'm gonna get to 260 pounds. Like I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to 260 pounds, 260 pounds lean, and I think at the time, I don't even know if I believed that. I was just, I remember almost distinctively saying that to try to get people interested in me, even though at the time I didn't fully believe I was going to be 260 lean. And
Yeah.
then you fast forward to 10 years later and you've surpassed that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, you know? But in that time, there's nothing I could have done in that time to have just all of a sudden been 260 lean the next year. That's just
Yeah.
not the way my body was going to grow. It was like every year, 10 pounds
Yeah. Yeah.
for a decade, now 15 years. From a 150-pound skinny kid to 300 pounds. It's like, how do, how do you want to do that? Do you want to do that in 1 or 2 years? Because if you try, you're probably not going to get there at all. You know what I mean? So it's just chipping away 10 pounds a year. Keep adding the mass,
But
right?
the people we've seen do those crazy transformations, it stops.
It will stop, yeah. Yep.
So it's like people that do the, I mean, listen, 5-10 pounds is a shit ton, but like people who do like that range seem to consider, as crazy as Samson has gotten, it has been like 5-10 a year though. It wasn't, he never put on 20 pounds in a year. It's just that it accumulated because we started hearing about him during COVID. It's been 5 years
Yeah,
now. So
exactly.
shit, that's 50 pounds. He probably did have 50 pounds, you know, but it's still it wasn't one season he was just last place. Next season he was Arnold Classic champion. It feels like that because 5 years flew by, but it was like he was second call out guy in Europe, first call out guy in Europe, then second place in Europe, then first place in Europe, then like a
Exactly.
top five guy in America. It was gradual,
Yeah.
fast gradual, but
Taking
it's
his
still
time.
increments. Yeah,
Yeah.
but people that do like, wow, that's that guy from last year. Holy fuck, look at him. It happens once and that's it. It doesn't continue to happen. So
Yep.
you're almost better off going up like that because that usually continues. But the night
Exactly.
and day
Yeah.
transformations, it kind of holds. There's people that come to mind, but I don't want to. I don't want to say because it sounds like a negative thing. But there's people that probably come to your mind too that did the crazy transformation, but then it halts. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah. It's like if you really want to be like 300 pounds lean, you got to love everything you do to get there. So you got to think, okay, I got to be really good at eating. I got to be really good at training effectively. I got to be really good at sleeping. I got to be really good at, generating resources in order to, get everything I need to do that stuff, buy my supplements and everything. And then I need to do that on repeat, 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 repeat. Right. And it's like, and that's why I see a lot of bodybuilders posting about like Groundhog Day, because it definitely does feel like that at moments, right? That's why I personally love the switching of the off season to the contest prep and going through the different phases of cutting and bulking, because there's a different dynamic with both of those, right?
yeah,
And different challenges mentally and physically that come with both.
yeah,
But yeah, I feel like, yeah, bro, like honestly, man, like if you want to be like what we're talking about, you want to be a pro bodybuilder, you just have to live like one. So what does that mean? It's you're cooking and weighing out all your food. You're going to the gym on a consistent basis. You're always making sure you're making progress in some way. And like that's that's only a very actually small percentage of your time in the day. The rest of it is up to you, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like how you spend your time truly is honestly what really matters, because you still have to live your life. Right? It's like,
100%.
okay, like yeah, I want to be an IFBB pro. Okay, great, that's awesome. So, what does an IFBB pro do? Same things that we do all the time, but we get on stage once in a while.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like if the stage is your only motivating factor, then that's going to be really hard to do long term, right? So even like with Samson, I think he's been really smart in his approach, because he's it's clear that he's done things like you said at a gradual pace. There hasn't been any periods where he just like blew up. Maybe like with Milos and stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, I added some insulin, okay, sure. But for the most part, it's not like where people say, oh yeah, like I think it's funny when people say, well, I'm taking this, but I haven't added in the insulin yet. Like once I add in the insulin, like it's over for everybody. It's like then I'm just gonna blow up. It's like no, it's just a gradual building. Like it's like adding fucking blocks, bricks on top of other bricks. Like unless you have a whole army doing it on your own, one brick at a time.
Just
That's what I'm saying. Team. You need a team, right? If you're trying to build an empire, you do need a team. If you're trying to build the ultimate physique, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to need to just take your time with. For example, drugs is the number one thing. But another one example could be like the weights that you use in the gym. Because if I'm not Beatty and I'm not able to squat 500 pounds, but I'm obsessed with getting to that weight, most likely, if my goal is to be a bodybuilder, by obsessing about that goal, I won't reach my actual goal, right? So that's why when people come to me and we have conversations about things that people want, I'm like, let's make it very clear what your goal is. Because like when you tell me you want things, it has to be relevant to your goal, right? I do the same thing with my girlfriend because I coach her, right? So it's like she's like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, it doesn't matter what you want to do. What's your goal? That's what you want to do. You want to reach your goal, so you have to want to do the things that are going to get you to your goal, right? So yeah, all that with just saying, it's like you do need to pace yourself. You do need to pace yourself because burnout is real. And like I deal with, you probably feel the same way, but I deal with burnout on occasion when I'm doing a lot, especially if it's all like social stuff. Like when you go to like the Olympia or Arnold Expo, when you come home, bro, you are probably just done, right? Like, and that's the way I am. Like, don't talk to me for a few days because like I need to recharge, right? And so it's like people have to remember you only have a single battery operating for your entire life. So it's not like you have a one battery for your job, one battery for the gym, one battery for your social, one battery for your family, no, it's all one battery. So you have to learn how to segment these parts of your life, right? So you're not just draining yourself all the time. That's why I'm saying bodybuilding has to be sustainable because you can't say, I'm going to go all in for this year and then I'm going to have no money at the end of the year. My health is going to be trash. Everybody's going to be hate me. Like, come on, let's get a better plan in action here, right? Because that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to become a champion. And even if you want a show, it's like nobody cares if you win one show. You got to be able to reproduce it. Even as a pro, if you win one pro show, people are like, all right, cool, but do it again, right?
Yeah.
You do it again, they're like, all right, fine, but let's see how you do at the Olympia. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you think short term in bodybuilding, you will fail, right?
exactly, yeah,
So it's like, okay, I'm somebody who, some people take trend off season. It works for some people. I don't
Yep.
take trend off season.
Me
What
neither.
happens is I hop on trend. I look dramatically better. I'm stronger. More intensity in the gym. But what am I? What are they taking away from me? The probably the two most important things for me. My appetite gets decreased, and my sleep goes to shit. So short term, I will look better for the next 2 months. Physically, I'm gonna look better. I'm even gonna perform better in the gym, possibly, because I'm stronger. But if my sleep is getting worse and worse, and my appetite is getting less, and I'm not able to get the meals, long term on stage, I will actually look worse for it, not better. So the point isn't for me to look sexy in the fucking off season and blow it on stage. To bring the best look on stage 6 months from now, the trend isn't helping me do that.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
So same thing. If I took 2 grams of test, I may actually look better for the next 3 months, but I know that on stage I'm going to look worse, right?
Yep.
Because the negative side effect is taken away from. So if you can't plan, every bodybuilder should already know exactly what they're doing next year. I mean, but other than maybe your placings or qualifying, taking that out, but you should have a map for pretty much 12 months at a time. It shouldn't be like, what are you doing 6 months from now? I don't know. How could you not know? Like some people know 2, 3 years from now exactly what they're gonna do. You know,
Yep.
so you gotta, if you can't plan ahead for bodybuilding, know every step, you won't be very successful. If you think short term, you're gonna fail. It's a
yeah.
long term sport, yeah. But
Yeah, when I was young, I used to definitely think really short term, right? Like I would take out like loans to go and compete just because I didn't care, right? And yeah, it's funny. I think I told this podcast like on one of the recent episodes of Canadian Beef, but one of the first times I ever did tren, the first cycle of tren, and I was working with that coach from the UK, and I was in the UK, and the gym. I was biking to the gym. I just had a bicycle at the time, and I'm just biking to the gym, and someone pulls out and like hits me on like they pull out with their car and hits me. I'm on a bicycle, and I fly over their hood, and I didn't even barely react because the only thing that I was concerned about was that I
Oh
was not.
shit.
I was like, I stood up and I'm like, I'm not injured. I need to grab my bike. I need to get to the gym. The guy like was gonna like get out of his car. I was like, I don't even know if I said anything to him. I think I just took off, man, because I was in a different world. I had isolated myself on purpose. I left my family and my friends behind to go, and I was with nobody for like 12 weeks. Just I would go to the gym and like see people at the gym a little bit and see my coach.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was crazy. Not like it's that's why I'm explaining that, because it's not the trend that like transformed me and made me like that. It was the whole way I set my life up. I set it up so that nobody would bother me. I could just enter this weird, like hyper focused, crazy, obsessive. All I remember is just like pinning myself all day. I just pin all day, watch Marcus Rule videos, and basically, and as also like, the first time I was like using like a little bit of like synthol and stuff. So it was
yeah.
like all day just perpetually, and like you're also living in a state of perpetual anxiety because it's like you have
Bro.
to you have to be like hyped up to train and to inject and to do all these things. And if you were like living with like a normal like at the time like if I was like living with my ex-girlfriend at the time and she was like a normal person looking at me doing all that stuff, that would be a huge shock for her, right? Like some
Yeah.
21-year-old kid just like pinning himself nonstop, popping pills. Like I'm at the gym 3 times a day. Like, also much probably at the time, for sure at the time, much less able to control my emotions, which is why I purposely separated myself because I'm like, I don't want to deal with anybody, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not a good way to live because when I came back, it was hard to reintegrate. That's why I'm like I had no friends, because if you just isolate yourself from everybody, nobody, like at some point people will stop inviting you to go hang out, because
100%.
if you say no enough times, people are just like, okay, well, I'm not going to bother, right? And then
Yeah.
eventually you're left with literally nobody, and then it's like, well, where how do I get friends now? It's
It's
like you're back in like fucking like middle school. You're like you have to make new
gotta get
friends
friends.
again. That's what it was like. So yeah, that's why bodybuilding is so crazy, because I don't know how else you would get into that mindset where you're like, I just need to be alone to
Bro,
do this one thing, right?
it doesn't even make sense. You're
Doesn't.
not. It's almost like you're not okay because you're not Robin anymore. You're somebody
No.
else at that point.
I was
But
Kai Green.
well, lucky for me, just by sheer coincidence, my ex used to travel for work, and every time I get deep in prep, she's not here, and I was so happy she wasn't because I'm almost like mortified for her to see me like that because I'm not okay, bro.
Yeah.
Like, like those last 8 weeks, let's say even more, last 6 7 weeks, I'm not a human being. I
Yeah.
fucking stopped sleeping on the bed and then started sleeping on a couch. And I went further, started sleeping in the room on the carpet floor. I couldn't even get comfortable on the bed. I was so uncomfortable. My body so uncomfortable. I started sleeping on the floor. I would come home from the gym sometimes, not even showering, lay on the floor and sleep for like 3 hours, and then get up. And everything was just crazy. It was. But this happens to be almost any prep that I've been in shape. That's what happens, and I don't want anybody around me at all.
Yeah.
But not for myself. It's almost for myself as well. I actually don't want to talk to anybody, but more so for their feelings because they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to. Even if you're a competitor, and I don't think every competitor can relate to that. I think some competitors haven't felt it to that extent, but I almost don't want anybody to witness it because I'm not embarrassed. I just rather you just not Why would I want you around me? There's nothing good for you to be around. It's just bad.
Yeah, you need a really like special person. Like honestly, like my girl now, like she's a competitor too, you know, amazing. But we also came like you were talking about before. If we met each other 10 years ago, we were both like in the party scene, like 22 years old. Like she was drinking, she was chain smoking, like and like just if we met each other like that because we hated ourselves it never would have worked. We would never would have developed the love for each other that way because we would have hated ourselves, judged each other, and it would have been this horrible thing. But because we were able to develop on our own, like you were saying, go through those experiences with failed relationships and grow and relearn and get to this point, it's like now we can prep together and we can like be on that same level, and it's really really hard to do that with just anybody, man. Like it has to be a very special person to want to spend your time because especially as you know, it's like when you get in prep and you get a chance to eat, it's like you need it to be like perfect. It's like if
Yeah.
somebody that you don't like was talking to you, you'd rather not eat and wait for them to shut up than eat your
100%.
meal. And you know what I mean? It's like you need
Bro,
everything. Like your environment needs to be exactly comfortable when you eat your meals, or else it's like that's all you've got. It's like I just need my meals, right? Like if I don't have my meals to like
that's it.
calm me down, it's like I'm gonna lose my shit. So just mealtime, and that person has to understand that, and there has to
100%.
be like this coherence of just like when you're having your bad day, it's like it just has to be, it has to flow, man, because it could be either amazing like it is with us, and I'm so grateful for it, or with past relationships that have failed that were so bad that you'd rather be alone. So it's like
100%.
and that's why you really do. You have to go through failed relationships. You also have to go through periods of being alone. And
100%.
and
Yeah.
and and even when they're like they suck, it's like, oh man, like sucks to be alone. Nobody likes to be alone. It's like, yeah, but you also grow when you're alone. So,
You gotta learn.
it's
Bro,
like when you only grow when you're going through those last grinding reps in your sets in the gym. Like you're only gonna grow when you're gonna get pushed mentally in life too. Like
to be able to, yeah.
right?
Bro,
Taking on new amounts of stress and stuff. Actually, no, with Dorian, it's like Dorian takes on so much, and I'm looking at that. I'm like how does he not get stressed out? And I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'm stressed out, man. I'm like, yeah, no kidding, but you handle it so well, and it's just because he's developed the ability to handle it like that. Whereas
yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody else had that much stress and pressure, they would crumble. It's like, oh,
Well,
well, that makes sense why he can do what he does because he's developed these skills that we don't have yet, or that someone else doesn't have yet, right?
the only way to develop it is going through more of it, right? So
Exactly.
you lift weights, you lift more weights. To adapt to more weights, you have to lift more weights. So to
Yep.
adapt to more stress, you have to take the stress, right? So
Yeah.
when you get bad things happen and stressful things happen, and welcome it, be like, yes, let me get more stress. Come on, stress, because
Yep.
that's how you're gonna learn to deal with more stress by taking in the stress, right?
You
So
just can't let it break you. It's like, yeah, like you
exactly,
said, reps in the gym. It's like, okay, I did my 20 reps, balls to the ball set. But then when I did that 20th rep, like something tweaked and it hurt me. It's like, oh, you weren't ready for that amount of stress yet. Same thing. It's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, like I've taken on all these new challenges. Like, yeah, I just signed up for school again, and I'm taking on new clients. It's like, well, everything's falling apart because I've taken on too much. I don't have the ability to deal with that yet.
100%,
Like,
yeah.
man, like that's a big fucking thing. It's like if you want to be able to be a bodybuilder, an entrepreneur, if you want to have kids in the future, talk about stressful. You know what I mean? Like,
Take some stress, yeah.
yeah. So
I always tell everybody you should have a dog before you have kids, just to
for sure.
learn that stress of when your dog is fucking has diarrhea and shitting all over the place, and you have to clean it up, and
Yep.
because that's gonna prepare you for the stress of kids, which is gonna be amplified because that's your own flesh, flesh and blood, But
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. It's so funny when you have a dog too. She's like my dog. Like she's amazing. I love my dog, but like once in a while she'll like have an accident or something. Like one time she had an accident in the bed. Bro, I woke up 3 a.m. I'm like, what's wet in the bed? turn on the light. My girlfriend's like, turn the light off. I'm like, no, something's wrong.
Thumbs off.
And I fucking get out of the bed. I take a step. I step in something else wet. I'm like, okay, we got a big problem. I turn all the lights on. There's like, she had a big mess, man. It's like, what are you gonna do? You don't have any other choice, but you got to clean. I'm like in the shower at 3 a.m. Like I'm miserable, man. I'm like thinking like, how am I gonna train tomorrow? Like this is fucking up my sleep. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah,
But
guess what?
all
You
that
gotta
shit,
deal with it.
all that shit is good for you.
Yeah, it
It's
is. Yeah.
building you up. Because I remember how stressed I was when I first got the dog. To the point I'm like, yo, I'm gonna have to give this away to my sister. There's no way. This is too much stress for me. And now I wake up, there's fucking shit all over the floor. I'm like, wow, okay, just clean it up. Oh, I got some shit on my hands, no problem. You know, it's like it's not a big deal, right? So
Yeah.
that's the. And I'll also say in the past 2 years, I've dealt with so much stress, just a lot of life changes that it was tough, but I appreciate it now because I feel like my brain is so fortified now that when I'm dealing with stress now, it's like it's not a big deal. I feel like I can see a guy with a guy could shoot me right now. I'm like, oh, it's just a flesh wound. Okay, I'll go later to the doctor to get the bullet taken out. You know, right now I'm gonna train my client right now. I'll go to the hospital. You know,
Yep.
so all that shit is fortifying your mind and it's necessary. Without that, you wouldn't make it. You need these stresses and
Yeah.
all you can do is just appreciate it at that point. To all
Yeah,
the stress
for
in
sure.
life, you know. But,
Yeah, no, 100%, man.
I feel like we've been on for a minute now.
Yeah, we've been on for a while. Yeah, I'm gonna make some food
Yeah, me too.
now, I guess.
I gotta make some food. But Robin, that was good, man. That was good.
Yeah, bro.
Got two hosts, so we got Canadian. What do you say? Canadian Nation,
Beef Nation.
Beef Nation,
Beef Nation. That's a
Beef
good
Nation
ring to it,
podcast.
man.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
got to do more collab. Sometimes the weeks get so busy, I forget to hit people up.
yeah,
But I want to start doing collabs again. I feel like for a while, me and you both were doing some really good collabs with different people and stuff. I just sometimes the days fly by. I'm like, fuck, it's already Wednesday. I gotta So planning ahead, I want to definitely get some more like other hosts from other podcasts and. I feel like it was getting fun. It was like a lot of that going on, and I
yep.
kind of want to start that up again. Just get the
Yeah, people like it, like, and that's why I know it's like it's hard to run a podcast, because it actually is. It's difficult to organize with everything, and you got to come up with topics and stuff like that. But A, it's fun. We always have a good time when we do it, so that keeps us going. And B, people love it, right? Like people always are like, "Hey, this is like a really great part of my day. I always look forward to this." And it's like that's enough, man. Just to be able to like make somebody's day better, because they listen to like an hour of us talking, like that's pretty cool. So.
yeah.
And
Well,
until people say like, yeah, fucking, we hate listening to you guys, like, stop making podcasts.
Well, usually I'm always thinking it's going too long. I'm like, oh fuck, it's been 2 hours, and then usually people say, hey, we wanted longer podcast. I'm like, really? I'm like, I felt like that was a bit too long, but people are doing cardio and they're cooking their meals and they're washing their
Exactly.
car. But then when I listen to the podcast, I'm like, damn, that's it. So yeah, a lot of times I look at the podcast, I'm like, wait, that was 3 hours. That kind of felt like 30 minutes, right? So I guess I could relate to. It's just that when it's yourself, sometimes you're like, you don't want to hear me talk, man. That's enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
But you know what? It's like, even for me, I like to listen to podcasts. Like if I'm just chilling, if there's nobody at home, I'll put a podcast like in the living room, even if I'm in here. It's just like, sounds like there's noise in the house. It just kind of comforts me. And I'm sure, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. And now I'm doing 45 minutes of cardio. So if I got a podcast that's an hour and a half, say, like I'll listen to half, and then tomorrow it's like it's great because now I got more to listen to tomorrow, right? It's like
yeah.
I'm excited. I enjoyed that first half of the podcast. Now I get to listen to the rest of it tomorrow. Where it's like it sucks when you're like, sometimes I'm like running a podcast. I'm like, oh damn, like today's cardio is gonna suck now because I got to find something and I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it.
You got to go back to the old podcast, bro, because
True.
think about it. By the time you go back to a couple of years ago, you forgot. Like I went back to like a Compton interview with Fuad, and I was like, I saw this, but bro, that was like 3-4 years ago. So I'm like, I don't remember what the fuck they talked about. Let me go watch it again. And it's like you're watching it for the first time. Or with your podcast, sometimes because I feel like sometimes it doesn't alert me the right way. But sometimes I'll be like, wait, I didn't see this episode. Okay, I didn't see this episode. But sometimes you just miss it, right? You scroll through it and you just miss it, or maybe you didn't check YouTube that day. So if I during prep I listen to so much all the time while I'm driving. I don't want to listen to music, so I run out of podcasts all the time, and I'll go look back old podcasts, the Boston Lloyd, like an old one with Leo. Just keep going back until I find something that I'm like, this is interesting. I don't remember this. There's still a lot of podcasts that we haven't even heard. Like, let's say you Google Dennis Wolf, and you'll be like, "Oh, I never saw this Dennis Wolf interview." Okay, let me click. So
Dorian Yates started a podcast. Did you ever listen to his?
I listened to the whole
episodes though. That's the thing. He's not consistent, but it'll be like once every couple of months there'll be a new episode.
Yeah. I think I saw one. Who did he have on? I think I saw the first episode. Who did he have on for the first episode?
I think it was Chris Cormier for the first one, or something like that. He had a couple of guests. I think he had Tom Platz on, right?
Boom! I was going Tom Platz. Yeah. So that's the one. That's the one I started it, and I was like, "Isn't that interesting?" Like, usually you have a guy from our generation or a little after interviewing the older guy like Dorian. Now you have Dorian interviewing the older guy. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And he was so like the fan. Yeah. Dorian was like the fan. I'm like, this is dope to see this shit,
I know, it's crazy, eh?
We're all fans, bro.
There's multiple generations all interacting at the same time right now.
It's fun.
Yeah.
The truth is, every single one of us are fans, including Samson Dowd is Miss Olympia. He's a fan. Everybody's 100%. A fan. So I think that's cool to see that that interaction. But
I know it's so funny. It's like you're a fan, but you're also in the sport. So it's like sometimes I'll be like listening to like a news channel, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like I'll listen to like anybody else, and then if they say anything about me, I'm like, oh, I'm out of here.
Because then it makes it weird, right? It makes it kind of weird. You're like, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Imagine being like I don't know, like Nick Walker, and everywhere you turn, you see a picture of yourself where, oh, Nick, is he out of line? Is Nick Finn? You're like, bro, what the fuck? Can I just get away from this for a second? You right? It has to be a lot to deal with, I would imagine. So.
Yeah, even I don't know if you know Jonathan Warren, but he's
I know him.
Yeah, he works with Sergio and stuff. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, his podcast is cool. He does. He did one with my coach Eric Seifert there, and they talked about me a little bit at the end. He's like, yeah, so what's going on with your athletes? And Eric's like talking about me. I'm like, it's funny. Like I'm just like laughing, like He's like, oh yeah, Robin's doing this and this with his training. It's like, it's just funny when people talk about you, right? But but we do it too. It's like, we talk about other bodybuilders. It's like, because we're all fans of the sport. We all know each other more or less, So it's like, it's a fun community, man. But it's definitely cool. Like in this time for sure, when you see like I saw, what was it, Branch Warren taking a picture with like James Hollingshead. It's like the older generation. They're like, now they're like merging with the new generation. It must be kind of weird for them too, right? Because they're like, wait, that was me before, and now we're gonna go through that too. It's like then we're gonna see those 17-year-olds. Then we're gonna be like the small, like older guys. It's like it is what it is, man. Like
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you already see it happening where the younger guys coming to you in the gym, and you're like, am I the OG now? This is kind of quick. I still got it though. I can't be the OG. Like, what's going on?
They got that fantasy league, right? So I got one guy. One guy was like messaging me. He's like, hey man, like, he's like, are you doing Toronto for sure? I'm like, I don't know why. Like, why is this guy asking me? Because I don't know him that well, right? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, I'm like, why? He's like, oh, because I got you in the fantasy league. Like, I'm hoping you'll win me some points. I'm like,
shit.
That makes sense.
That's kind of funny. I actually have a friend of mine that she'll ask me that sometimes because she knows that I'm like, I'm usually talking to a lot of pros. She's like, do you know this guy doing this show? I'm like, Oh, I'm not sure. I can ask him though if you want me to. Yeah, I get the inside for me. I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah,
got you. I don't worry about it. It's kind of cool. I think it's kind of
yeah.
cool when it happens.
No,
All right,
that's cool.
bro.
But
Well,
yeah,
I've
bro.
been,
Okay, yeah, we'll chat soon. Eh? I'm sure we could fucking chat all night. But
yeah. I gotta come on your show. What days do you film usually?
yeah. Oh man, we've been inconsistent, but usually it's Thursdays or like Sundays. But like we kind of just like pick a day of the week at the beginning of the week. Like we did
Just let
like
me
a
know.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, just let
But
me know. Yeah, whatever day.
yeah, bro. If you want to come on, like let's do it. We'll chat more for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
All right, bro.
yeah.
You already know,
Sounds
Robert.
good, bro. Okay,
Yes,
bro. We'll
sir.
talk soon.